Hey everyone, welcome back to the Keep Watching podcast, where we decide what to watch so you don't have to. I'm James,
And I'm Sarah.
and today we're going to be talking about The Devil's Game.
Not quite. The Devil's Plan,
The
right?
Devil's Plan. I always think, in my head, it should be called The Devil's Game. I don't know why it's called The Devil's Plan, actually.
Yeah, I don't know what the plan is, but there are a lot of games, so maybe it should be The Devil's Game.
Yeah. I did actually write down, like, the lore that they go through in the beginning of the show. Did you?
No, it is.
Maybe that
A
actually
silly
explains
tie.
why it's a plan and not a game. Okay.
I'm not sure. I just like that this is episode 66, and we're just 600 episodes away from this being a fun, coincidental number.
All right. Yeah, we're finally moving away from Transit Live 2 / Heart Signal 4.
Yes.
Also, if people can't tell yet, my voice is not fully with me right now, but we're
You're
pushing
trying,
through.
though.
We're pushing through and doing the podcast anyway. I think I can make it. But yeah, thanks for the comments as always from people
Yep.
that listen to the After Signal Heart Signal 4 podcast.
Well, that was a long episode, though.
It was. It was a very long episode. Will this episode be shorter or longer than that, Sarah?
Oh, definitely shorter than that. It's only
Okay,
about
well-
2 episodes of television. I think.
We'll
I think we'll be
see.
fine.
All right. But yeah, we're just gonna move right along and get into this. Actually, do you want to talk? We used to do this all the time. Do you want to talk about what we've been watching and any recommendations?
Oh yeah, sure. I have been watching on your nemesis Apple TV Plus, Lessons in Chemistry, which has been pretty good.
Oh,
It
okay.
has Captain Marvel's in it as a chemist back in the day when everyone's sexist and it's hard for her to be a chemist, and she is on her way to running a cooking show. I'm not really sure.
Oh,
I don't know. It's been a good time so far, although it did make me cry real hard, and I'm only 4 episodes in, but I've been enjoying it.
okay. Wait, I'm pretty sure Captain. Wait, did you say Captain Marvel or Captain America?
Captain Marvel.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say Captain America just is in like some Netflix movie about like this painkiller business or something.
Oh yeah. I guess technically also chemists are in that too.
Yeah, I've been watching a show we already talked about on this podcast again.
Uh-huh.
I was just really in the mood to watch Money Heist again.
I still have not
You
watched
haven't
the
watched
rest
it?
of it.
Oh.
I haven't watched anything except what we talked about on the show.
If people like drama TV, I don't like drama TV, but Money Heist just does it for me for some reason. I don't know what it is. But yeah, I went back. I watched like there's like 2 heists over the course of like the 5 parts, and I watched the second heist again. It's such a weird combination of like it's a heist movie, so it's got like Ocean's 11 vibes, and then but it's
Uh-huh.
also like a Spanish soap opera like kind of twists
Okay.
in the middle of it.
Yeah,
But it's like
yeah,
not
yeah.
like filmed like a soap opera, but it feels
Yeah.
like I don't know. It's like the romantic relationships of all the characters is like crazy. Like it's ridiculous to the point of like it's almost comedic to me, but it's like
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's got like a lot of like love triangle action going on in it, which I like in, like I usually like in like the anime that I watch. I love like the love
Yeah.
triangle stuff, but it's like in this heist like intense action drama thriller.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
it's I don't
A
know.
time when you should not be worried about a love triangle.
Like it's not actually funny, it's just kind of funny to me. I don't know. I
Yeah.
like it. It's like so over the top that I like it. Whereas like most drama is I feel like I'm just like, yeah, it's just a silly drama. But I don't know. Somebody like it. So yeah, I still highly recommend Money Heist.
I'll get back to it one of these days. I really will.
Honestly, like whenever I'm in the mood for something like that, I just like can't think of anything else that I like, so I just watch Money Heist. So that's I guess how it's been.
It's a nice go-to.
Yeah. And then I have a recommendation specifically for you, Sarah.
Oh,
And then
what
maybe
is it?
people that like what Sarah likes might also
Okay.
like this. It's called Captain Laserhawk.
Captain Laserhawk. I feel like I've heard of this.
It's on Netflix. The subtitle is A Blood Dragon Remix, which I don't know why it's called. It has that on it, but it's an animated show,
Okay, but not an anime.
but not anime. Yeah, it's a dystopian future,
Okay.
cyberpunk,
Okay.
quirky video game references.
Okay.
and has queer relationships.
Oh, there you go. I was like, I think I heard of this, and I think there are queer people in it, and that's as far as I got.
Yeah.
Which is, yeah, you nailed it. That's my jam.
All right.
All right, I'll have to
It's
check
only
it out.
it's only like 6 episodes.
I will check that out before Money Heist.
Yeah. I don't think it's a podcast show, but I don't know if people want to watch that along with Sarah, go ahead. If it's when Sarah watches it, you'll mention it on the podcast, right?
Yeah,
Tell us
definitely.
what you think. Okay.
Or if anybody manages to watch it before I do, leave us a
Yeah.
comment.
If
Let me
somebody
know what you
watches it and thinks Sarah would also like it, let her know. All right. That's all I got. I'm ready for The Devil's Plan.
Yeah, let's go.
So Devil's Plan is also a Netflix show.
Yes. Also a Korean show.
Yeah, Korean competitive reality TV show. The Netflix blurb is 12 contestants face off in a game of wit, strategy, and wisdom over 6 nights and 7 days. Who will be crowned the ultimate victor? And basically, if anybody's familiar with the show The Genius, which is another Korean competitive reality show, it's like the same producer as that show.
And the premise is pretty similar.
Yeah, it's very similar. Almost like it should basically just be like a sequel show to The Genius. But The Genius was never on Netflix. It was just like a Korea only show.
Yeah. And they didn't live there, so they'd come in once a week.
Yeah.
People would get eliminated once a week, and that's pretty much it. Other than that, it's the same.
I've only watched the first 2 episodes. Sarah's gone further, and we're going to talk about the first 2 episodes today. But in my opinion, they kind of just like took what wasn't great about The Genius and made it better.
Yeah, I agree.
And that's what we have here. So I'm a huge fan of the show. This is like, well, this genre of competitive reality TV, but specifically like this social strategy plus having to use your wits, basically, is like probably like right in the sweet spot for the content I like.
Specifically targets like it's supposed to be smart people on the show figuring out like tricky sort of puzzles, problems, games that require a lot of thinking. So nothing that's too reliant on luck.
Yeah. I mean, there definitely is some luck involved for sure.
Yeah.
When I first watched this, actually, I watched the first 2 episodes and then I recommended it to you. I had this like, when I wasn't paying attention as much as I was when I watched it for the podcast, I had this idea that like, oh, all these people had like some credentials that made them like appear at least on the resume to be smart.
Yeah.
But like, but then actually watching it the second time, I was like, oh, some of them do, but some of them definitely don't. Like, like they're clearly good at what they do, but it's not necessarily like their wits that got them where they were. Yeah. Okay.
Right.
So but The Genius was the same way. It's like mostly celebrities and then
some more minor celebrities like professional poker players or stuff like that.
Yeah. But a poker player is like wits, yeah.
Yeah.
Or like a pro gamer. Although gamers in Korea are celebrities, so but then there's like some random people which I feel like they must have we're gonna find out, like they must have gotten the show through some, like they had some level of credentials to get them there. But
yeah, there was they alluded to like they put out a casting call and there were like tests you had to take to get on.
Yeah, like Jeopardy style quiz, like exams that you could take basically. But yeah, let's get into it.
Yeah.
How do you want to do this? Do you want to go through? I have like the basic rules of this. Do you want to do the basic rules before
Let's do the basic rules first.
They introduced the contestants to us before the basic rules, but let's do the basic rules.
Yeah.
There's going to be 12 contestants.
Okay, so everybody starts with a bag that has a piece in it. Basically, a piece is kind of your currency in the game.
Yeah.
And
the one piece. I'll start with the one piece.
Yes, the one piece.
Okay.
And then they're gonna every day they're gonna play what's it called? A main match in the morning, or I guess it's in the afternoon because they allow them to sleep in. And based on the results of that, they're either gonna win or lose pieces. And then in the evening, there is a prize match where they're all working together in order to, if they succeed, they put more money in the ending prize pool for once the show is over.
Mm-hmm. The prize pool starts at 0, right?
Yes, and it can go as high as 500 million won.
Yeah, which is somewhere in the ballpark of like
$500,000. A little bit less. The shortcut I always use for converting won to USD is just take off 3 zeros. And it's going to be more than it is in USD, but it's at least close enough in the area that.
Whatever the conversion I looked up made it like just under 400K as of now, but I don't know what it was.
Yeah.
So I would say somewhere in the ballpark of 300K to 500K is about like somewhere in there. So it's a decent price.
Yeah.
For a 7-day show, that's definitely decent money.
Yeah.
If they can get it that high. I don't know. I don't know whether they will. So in this episode, there actually is no losing of pieces in the main match, but since you watched ahead, is that how people lose pieces in the future?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. By coming in like the last 3 spots, they'll lose different amounts of pieces.
Okay.
And at any time, if somebody loses all of their pieces, they are disqualified immediately and have to like leave. They're off the show.
Escorted off the premises. What the premises is what they say. Yeah. And then at some point, which we don't know, I don't think you've gotten this far, it's just going to be like the last main match, I guess.
And the last I'm not quite sure match. How the end works.
Yeah. I don't know if they're going to do like 5 main matches and 5 prize matches or what it is. But whoever has like, whichever players have the most pieces, the 2 players with the most pieces at that time will go to the final round together and play some sort of head-to-head. So the pieces are important in this game for making it to the end, whereas like in the Genius, the previous show, like you were just trying to survive every week and it didn't really matter as much how many like pieces you had,
because the pieces in that game and in this one can also be used during pretty much almost any match to buy some sort of advantage, to help you with that particular game.
So the pieces on both the Genius and the show were valuable, but they're even more valuable on the show because the other show was just kind of like about not getting last place every week. Whereas this show is like, okay, I actually want to be collecting these because I need them to get to the finals.
Like in theory, everybody could get to the finals or the final, episode before they pick the last 2. So like if nobody loses so you have to have the most pieces.
You have to have the most pieces
to make it through. Yeah. And you can also use pieces to sort of bargain with other players to help you in games or whatever. So they basically tell them that the rules are, other than violence or theft, you can do whatever you want within the game's rules. Like, we don't care. And they're kind of like alluding to the like, you're gonna have to be an asshole. And we're kind of really okay with that. They're just like, you do what you gotta do to win. That's, we respect the win. If you gotta betray people, betray people.
They want everybody to try to win the show, and they want them to like see that playing selfishly in the main matches might benefit them.
Yes.
But also it might not benefit them depending on how you look at it.
Yeah. But I think that they're leading to the theme there of the, the devil's plan might be just make all these people be terrible people.
Oh, I see. Okay, I'm getting the lore here. Okay.
And there is one other aspect, whereas after the main match, it's if there are 2 people who happen to have the least amount of pieces, that they will go to jail, which means they won't be able to participate in the prize match, and they will have to stay in jail until the next day right before the main match. But if there is some sort of tie for, the least amount of pieces, then whoever has the most amount of pieces gets to pick out of those tied people who go to prison.
Yeah. I'm guessing like whoever has the most pieces will be the tiebreaker in most cases.
Yeah.
On the show. So being like having the most pieces at all times also can prove to be beneficial.
But it can also put a target on your back.
How much do you love this, like sending them to jail?
It is so silly, but also kind of great.
Yeah. That's the basics of the rules. We can talk about more rules when we get to other stuff. But yeah, the big differences from the Genius are, the pieces are not prize money. We talked about that. That's a huge difference in the show. The Genius did not have prize matches. Instead, they had death matches where like the loser of like the main match would have to like pick a person that wasn't immune, and then they would have a death match against each other, and then like the loser would get eliminated permanently from the game. And they've gotten rid of that, which makes a lot of sense. From the like, okay, we're only going to be here for 7 days. Like, we don't necessarily want like somebody to be kicked off the show after
every single day.
I don't know. Like, it keeps people in the game. I think I like it better.
And those matches in the Genius were kind of not the best
Oh, yeah.
matches, and they reused them over and over again, and it wasn't.
It was
wasn't
also
great.
it was also the worst part of the show. Yeah.
Yeah. So they improved that greatly.
It's only 7 days, and the contestants have to live together, which I also as a great aspect.
Yes.
To the social part of the game.
They're like 2 people to a room, and like the wall is glass, so
Yeah.
I mean, they have curtains, but like more or less, you can see everybody all the time.
Yeah, I want you to give me your thoughts and descriptions of this entire set they constructed for this TV show. It's so interesting.
Yeah, it is. Like they had a big soundstage, and they just built a giant building inside.
Basically, yeah. All right, you want to meet the contestants now?
Yeah, let's go for it.
Okay, first one is Seokjin Ha. Now, some people, like, if there's a Korean audience listening to this podcast, like, they're gonna know who a lot of these people are, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Especially Seokjin. He's an actor. He's been an actor for a while.
Okay.
I gotta say, this man is very attractive. I got distracted by him a lot.
Okay. So I came up with nicknames for all these contestants to help me when I was taking notes, because I was getting tired of like going to look back up what their name was.
Is his nickname Hot Actor? Because it should be.
No, his nickname is Sexy Smart Man.
Oh, that also works.
Because at one point, he was on a show, or whatever role he was on the show gave him the moniker of like the smartest and sexiest man in Korea, or something like that. But he was also in the top 1% of the national college exam. So,
which is like super impressive.
Yeah. Okay, so he's actually like hella sexy. Okay. Good to know, I guess.
I thought so. And I was like surprised. It's like age appropriate sexy man, even, because normally I'm like, ooh, look at those K-pop boys, but this guy.
How old is this guy?
It's like 42 or something.
Okay,
I don't know.
Okay. Yeah, that's okay. Yeah. Yeah, the TV show he was on was called Problematic Men.
Yeah, I've never seen that, but I think I read a description of it, and it's like it's a show where people bring their problems, and then a bunch of these like guys talk through like how you deal with the problem. So even though it sounds like not a good thing,
it's like social problems.
Is. Or I think so.
Okay, I thought it was like yeah. Oh, maybe it's like yeah. Okay. It's like men who solve problems, but like the title...
it's not men being problematic, which is exactly what it sounds like.
The problematic, in English, problematic men sounds like men who have problems,
or are problems.
Maybe only men are bringing problems to Seokjin.
No, I think it's a cast of men who are responsible for answering the questions.
All right, so that's Sexy Smart Man, Seokjin.
Mm-hmm.
All right, next is Siwon Lee.
Also an actress, but she also is an inventor. She invented the clear face mask, amongst other things.
Clear face mask is like COVID mask, right? That's what she's talking about.
Yeah.
Okay. At first I thought it was like some sort of clear like facial like beauty care mask, but then it's
specifically like a keep your germs to yourself mask.
It's like so people can see your mouth, but you're still covering it with a mask.
Yes.
Right. That's why it exists. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. My nickname of her is just Actress Inventor. Not a great one. Not a great one. But that's how I remembered who she was.
I just like that when she comes in, like she and Seokjin had met on a show before, and she immediately like tries to form an alliance with him.
Oh yeah, that was good. She kind of gets the show.
She's in it from the beginning. She's ready to go.
Yeah, I wrote right away like, oh, she seems smart, but also like I wasn't sure how the show was gonna work necessarily, but I was like, maybe like if this was like Survivor, you'd be kind of coming across as like, oh, maybe you're too smart, like it's like I know we're supposed to make alliances, but you're doing it like really fast, like kind of.
It's okay because no one else could see her.
Yeah,
she took the opportunity.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I think it's good. The risk of like going deep into alliance stuff with people is like, but before you really get to know them, although I guess they know each other.
Yeah, that is another like weird level on this show where a lot of the people are celebrities who either have met each other or known of each other or will have to exist in circles in life together outside of the show.
Yeah. The risk on Survivor of doing like alliance too early is like you don't really know the personality of the person yet. Mm-hmm. So it's like they might just be somebody who is not here for that shit. like too fast, and then they like take it the wrong way and then now they're like yeah, they're like out to get you because of it. But
Yeah.
yeah, but if they already know each other or whatever, it should be fine. All right, next is Hye-sung Lee.
Yes, she is a freelance announcer.
Yeah, about to turn 30.
Yes.
I didn't get everybody's ages, but some of them gave it to us.
She is fluent in English, and her part of her blurb was that she studied 16 hours a day in high school to be the top student. And I'm like, that's a lot of hours.
That is a lot of hours, yeah. My nickname for her is Luggage Lady, though.
She did come in with a lot of luggage.
Because they commented on how much luggage she brought in for just a 7-day TV show. She had like two huge suitcases. So that was the biggest thing I remembered from her. But she does tell us that she plans to play dumb to disarm people and make them feel comfortable. I like that.
Yeah, it's a good plan.
Yeah, we're going to see that work pretty effectively. Not necessarily for her, but for somebody else in the first episode. All right, and next is Orbit. Do we ever get his real name?
No, like
I don't think
people
we do.
ask him for his real name, and he's like, "You can just call me Orbit." This man runs a science YouTube channel, and he has no other personality traits. He only wants to talk about science. His plan for the show is to talk about science the whole time and get everyone to love science. And I love science, but also, God damn it, Orbit, chill out just a little bit.
I feel like every time he says like, "Oh, I want to talk about science," it's like a joke that like it's like kind of a joke, but the show is only showing him making jokes about talking about science and then also talking about science.
See, I think
so it seems like he's always
it's a
talking
fake
about science.
joke. Like he brings it up like a joke because he knows that not everybody wants to talk about science, but he just wants to talk about it so much that he can't help himself.
It's probably one of those like somewhere in the middle things, but I cannot imagine that he's only talking about science. But the show will not let us believe otherwise.
I mean, he does his part in making it seem like that, because there's definitely some part where somebody's like, "Oh, should we talk about this?" And he's like, "Do you want me to explain about something about stars or whatever?" And they're like, "No." And he's like, "But it's interesting, I swear." And they're just like, "Stop it, please."
Yeah. Regardless of whether he's only ever talking about science, he definitely is talking about science a lot because people are commenting about it.
Yes, he is passionate.
I think he calls himself Orbit. I don't know. Somebody had to have given him this nickname. I would hope at least. But he just says like he studied the orbit of satellites as his major in college. And then I don't know if he decided his name was Orbit or what. But
I mean, it might be, his go-to internet name when he started his YouTube channel, and just didn't want to give out his real name ever. And now he's just like, this is it. This is my entire identity.
Yeah. I mean, so it could be his identity on the YouTube channel. I don't know. His YouTube channel is called like Unreal Science. I didn't look it up. But yeah, when I saw his name was Orbit, I thought he was going to be like a pro gamer.
Yeah, same.
Because they usually go by their gamer tags. But yeah, okay, interesting. But he's a commentator for space rocket launches as well. I don't know if that's part of his YouTube channel or not, but yeah. Basically, he seems like the Korean Bill Nye the Science Guy. So.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
So my nickname
is Korean Bill Nye the Science Guy.
No, well, I just said Science Guy.
Okay.
It's an easy way to remember him. Although his name's Orbit, so I quickly realized
it's real easy to
quickly realized I didn't need a nickname for him because he already has one. Next we have Guillaume, which is a Canadian, like French name, I believe, or something, right?
Yes,
because this guy is not
tall white guy from Canada.
Yeah, not Korean.
Which, like, I could not figure out how to make my mouth say his name because I was in Korean name mode, and then you throw this French name in, and I've never messed around with learning French. I'm just like, I can't. Every single time, I'm just like, I have no idea. So I hope you got a good nickname for him.
Well, it's pronounced Guillaume, I'm pretty sure, which it doesn't look anything like that, but I looked up the pronunciation. No, I don't really have a good nickname for him.
Oh no.
I just wrote Guillaume, but in like the way I would spell it in like Korean whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, he's the Canadian if you want to.
Okay, that's fair.
That nickname.
But he is one of like the very first pro StarCraft players. So I
Yeah,
think he's like real fucking famous in Korea,
yeah, he
at
must
least
be.
amongst
Yeah,
gamers.
he's 40 years old now, and
Yeah.
now he's a professional poker player,
And real into Bitcoin, I think they also said.
cryptocurrency investor. Yeah, Orbit was a huge fan of Guillaume
Mm, makes sense.
back in the day
Yeah.
when he was the gamer. And then Seokjin, the smart, sexy man, seems to be intimidated a little bit by Guillaume because he's a
Ooh.
professional poker player specifically.
Mm-hmm.
He is impressed by that profession. All right, next we have Kyungrim Park. My nickname for her is everyone's auntie.
Oh, that's perfect. Let's see.
You could just say the older woman of the season, but
No. Everyone's auntie is appropriate. But she is a TV personality, and her blurb said she had 5,000 guests at her wedding. So I guess her special skill is networking.
that's what they made it seem like. Like she was like some master networker. Like
Yeah.
yeah, she knows everybody in the entertainment industry. Is like how they built her up.
And she said she's just happy to be outside the house. So
Yeah, I don't know what she's been doing recently. Like she acted like she has no friends, and she's like, "I'm just so happy to be spending time with people."
Mhm.
Seokjin, as soon as she comes in, says, "Long time no see." So,
Oh yeah.
yep, another connection automatically. When she was 23 years old, she was the youngest woman ever to win the grand prize of the Entertainment Awards. I don't know.
I don't know what that is, but it
I don't know
sounds
what
fancy.
that is, but that sounds very
So
important.
good job.
Yeah, everyone's auntie. She knows everybody. Next is Boo Songkwan.
Sungkwan, he's from 17. 17 is like Monster X's. They're like friend groups. They debuted around at the same time, so they'd show up on shows together at the same time. Their fandoms are kind of friends together. We love 17 over here in Monster
So they're
X
not?
Land. They're not rivals. No, that's
They
not how
sounded
this
like
works.
rivals. Everything you said made it sound like they were rivals, and then you're like their friend group, though.
Oh, yeah, like a lot of the members are friends with a lot of the other members. They they came
Okay.
up in the industry together.
Do
It's not a rivalry situation at
do
all.
idol
It's a-
groups have rival groups? Or
I
they're
think
only
mostly
friend groups?
everybody's just like real supportive.
Okay.
You know, people try to have you try to do a good vibes in K-pop. You
Yeah,
know,
there's no real reason to have rivals unless it's like.
I mean, there are like literal like music show competitions every time you come out.
Yeah, that's what I was
You know, so
thinking.
like there's a reason you might, but like we try not to think about it like that. You know.
Okay. All right. And 17's still a thing then. I wasn't 100%.
Yeah,
sure,
they are
but I think
still
it is.
together.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. This is Idol Boy for me though. What do you call it? You call him Songkwan? You don't call him
Yeah.
Boo?
No, well, okay, so far you've been introducing people in the very American way, where you've got their
Yeah,
their,
it's as the
their
text was on the screen, yeah.
yeah, exactly. It's
But
their
for
first
him,
name.
they said Boo first.
Did
They
they?
did it. Yeah, that's why I
Well,
wrote it down that way.
that's his family name. Boo is his family name.
Oh, okay. I
It's
thought it
usually
was like
pretty
a weird
easy
nickname
to
or
tell
something.
because, well, I don't know. Actually, like I don't. There are 13 members in 17, so I do not know them all well.
Okay.
So, but I think that's his family name. But usually you can tell because the multiple, like the double syllable name will be the like the quote unquote first name, their given name, and the one syllable name will be the family name.
Oh, okay. I mean, I knew that, but
Well, I mean, you're not the only one I'm
Netflix-
talking to.
oh yeah, but Netflix didn't do that for his name, and they didn't reverse it for his name and did it for everybody else. So I thought it was like
Yeah,
some
I don't
sort
know
of,
what they're doing.
like appendage to his first name or something that for like whatever K-pop people do, but I guess it's not. Okay.
No,
All
they
right.
just did it weird.
Like that's my Boo Sokwan.
I mean, some people might say that, but it's also his family name.
He has appeared on many TV shows to promote his group, like this one, basically.
Yeah,
Yeah, they always
just
have
got
an idol
excited
person.
that he was there and did not write down anything they said about him after that. I just went, woo, 17.
They didn't say a lot about him.
Yeah.
I feel like they always have an idol, like a young idol person on these shows, right? Pretty much.
Yeah, I think
Um,
that's right.
but the one on the Genius that from season 1 that I remembered was actually like pretty good at these things. I don't know if Songkwan is qualified to be here or not, but we'll see.
We'll see.
All right, next is Dongju Soo.
Yes. She is a licensed lawyer in California, but also the daughter of a celebrity couple in Korea. But she went to MIT.
Yeah, do you know what her parents
Nope.
are? Okay, they
I mean,
never said it.
I looked it up, and I think they were just like they were actors or whatever, and they
Oh,
are not
okay.
people I was familiar with. But
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know.
This is the cool math lawyer.
Okay, I'll take it.
I stole
That
your
makes
nickname.
sense.
You don't like that one? I'm taking your
Well,
cool lawyer.
I mean, you added math in there, so it's
Well, it would have just
fine.
been math lawyer, but I added cool just for you because
Okay, I appreciate it. Yeah.
of Jumi. Okay.
I think she is in fact a cool lawyer. I do like Dongju.
Yeah, but the math part's the coolest part of her resume.
Okay, whatever.
I just wrote down I like her resume. Out of everybody I saw so far at that point.
Yeah, fair.
The math background, that's what does it for me.
Okay.
Having
That makes sense.
having faith in somebody. Our next is Junbin Kwak.
He is a travel YouTuber
Oh yeah.
and he's fluent in multiple languages.
As soon as he came in, people were like, "Oh, he's a super famous YouTuber." So, like the science guy was also a YouTuber, but not as
Yeah, I
popular.
feel like
guess.
Junbin probably appeals to a broader audience than the science channel. So that
Yeah, I
makes sense.
think the science guy's channel has like 3 or 700,000 subscribers,
Mhm.
and then they say that Junbin's channel got like a million subscribers in the first 3 years, and I don't know how long
Oh.
he's been. I don't know
Yeah,
how
yeah,
long
yeah.
he's been doing it, so he could have a lot more than that now.
Yeah.
Yeah, fluent in many languages. They say he could survive in just about any environment. So is this guy like the Korean Bear Grylls?
He doesn't strike me as
Yeah,
like
he
if
really
you look at
doesn't
him,
seem like that.
he does not look like a Bear Grylls type, but
Yeah.
he strikes me as a he could probably fall asleep anywhere kind of survival in any environment kind of guy, not the hardcore survival. But I
Yeah,
don't
they
know.
didn't
I've
like
never seen.
show him like out in the woods or anything like that. And I also like wouldn't describe Bear Grylls as like a travel content creator.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's the same thing, but that comment made it seem like I would describe Bear Grylls as like, oh, he can survive in just about any environment, but
This
it's
might
totally
be like
different.
more like normal people survival. Like he knows a lot of languages, so he can travel to a place, get around, deal with the shit he has to deal
Okay.
with.
Like he'd be
and
really good at
be
the
okay.
Amazing Race.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's I think more the vibe.
Okay. And he was also able to predict that Orbit was going to be on the show because he was like thinking about it. Oh, what kind of people? So I guess Orbit's big enough that he knew that he
Yeah.
might be on the show. And then he also guessed somebody else, but I didn't pick up on who he was pointing to.
Yeah,
so
it wasn't really clear.
But he was like thinking about they all didn't know who was going to be on, but he was thinking about who else was going to be there.
Mhm.
I wrote again. He seems smart, but he's like telling Orbit like, oh, I thought about who was going to be here, and you were on my list. And then he was like, and I also thought this person. It's like making yourself seem a little too smart, too fast.
Yeah.
Which, again, could be good or bad. I don't know, depending on the show, but we'll see. Next is Yeonwoo Chu.
She is a professional Go player.
Yeah, her nickname is GoPro. That's one of my favorite nicknames that I came up with.
That's good. I don't remember if we had much else about her other than
Yeah, Sokjin is also very impressed by this. So the professional like gamer people, he's very intimidated by.
Have you ever played Go? I don't know how it works. I've never played it, but it seems intense.
I've never played, but I think have you ever played Othello?
Like once.
Yeah, it's like Othello, but like actually that might not be right. But in my head it's like Othello, but like just 10 times more complicated.
Okay.
But it's supposed to be up there with like chess in terms of strategy.
Yeah.
It might actually be a better game.
More
than chess.
complicated than
I
chess.
don't know. I've heard people say they actually like. I've heard chess players say they actually think like Go is more interesting. But I've never actually played Go. She does seem to be lesser known. I feel like the celebrity reactions to her were like they were actually like asking her who she was a little bit.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Okay, so she is still like a celebrity.
Like there are people who know who she is, but like she's not a household name necessarily.
Yeah, like do you know who Magnus Carlsen is?
No.
Yeah, so Magnus, he's like the best chess player in the world. But like,
there you go.
Like if he showed up, on the show, people might ask him who he is. But like I would know who he is.
But when you found out who he was, you'd be impressed, which I feel happens here. when she, says she's a professional Go player.
Yeah. I did get the sense that Youngwoo wasn't necessarily like a champion Go player. Or like she
I
was
guess that's true.
when she might have won like some like big tournament when she was younger, but it didn't sound like she was necessarily.
She's not currently ranked the best Go player in the world or anything. Yeah.
But it's like, yeah, she's still a professional still. So
Yeah.
It's got to be pretty freaking good. All right. And then we have Yumin Su. This is our first
normal person.
not famous. What do they call them? They call them public contestants. So I guess these other people must have gotten invitations, is what it is.
Yeah.
And then these people
right.
actually had to audition. The last two people had to audition.
She is an orthopedist from the US, and when she comes in, I think it's Sungkwan is like, "You're not in the entertainment industry, are you?" And she's just like, "Oh, don't you know who I am?" And he's just immediately hardcore embarrassed and starts apologizing. And it's hilarious. And I kind of love her for it.
Is that what she said? That's why they were all like guessing.
Yeah, well, it's like, then they start guessing, but she definitely was just like, "Oh, you don't know who I am? I'm so famous."
Because they also guessed that she must be some sort of like young like Mensa student or something with like a really high IQ, because like that would also fit like why you would be on the show.
Yeah, exactly.
But then she's actually just like a 31-year-old doctor.
Yeah.
And I guess they decided they wanted a doctor on the show. Like, I don't actually know why.
Well, she must have done well on through the application process.
Yeah, but I get the sense that like she didn't do like the best, but she must have done well enough. Plus, she's a doctor, or what? I don't know. Maybe they needed a woman. Also, I'm not. Maybe they wanted a female public person. I don't know. I actually don't remember like on the Genius, like who was public and who wasn't. I don't know if this is a new casting strategy or what it is.
Yeah, I'm not sure. But yeah, they do have an even amount of men and women, so that was taken into consideration.
That was not the case on the Genius. I think it was like
it
might have been like 8-3 or something was the
Well, they do have rooming concerns to also deal with, so that also helps.
True, yeah. They could have done like 8-4, but yeah.
Yeah. And, she does speak multiple languages because she, speaks Korean and English fluently. So that
she's definitely
adds to her whole
smart,
thing. Yeah.
Fluent in Korean, Spanish, and English.
Yes.
Do you think these like multiple language people could speak like Spanish with each other?
Well, I don't know that we've heard anybody else that we definitely know speaks Spanish. We do have to find like a common extra language that isn't English, because that's too common for Koreans to maybe speak. Yeah. And then they can have a fun secret time.
But a couple of people know like multiple languages, but they don't say specifically which ones.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's this weird vibe where like I feel like people are intimidated by her because like the resume that she tells them like doesn't seem like to immediately should have qualified her to be on the show. So they're all like, nah, she's just hiding something. Like
yeah.
I feel like they're a little sketched out by her. Because they don't know who she is, and she like, you're just a doctor. That doesn't seem right.
Yeah, exactly.
And then the last one is Dong Jae Kim.
He is a student at Korea University. He's one of only 2 people to get a perfect score on the written part of the application test, and he's also a pro poker player.
Recently, just became a pro poker player, and he has the same X factor as Yumin does, where people don't know who they are, so they're like, I don't know if he tells them that he got the highest. I think we just learned that, right? He doesn't tell
I think
them.
We just learned that from his like intro package.
But I think his like, I'm a Korea, like I go to the Korea University,
which is one of the like top 3 universities.
Yeah, like it's like kind of a contestant on the show that like a celebrity would expect to be on the show, so like a little less sketched out by it. Like they assume he's smart, but they like expected somebody like that to be there. Whereas with Yumin, I feel like they're still a little thrown off by her. A little,
so like,
a little
she
bit
must
more.
Be a secret genius.
A secret
she's
genius,
on this show. Yeah.
Like we know this guy must be smart, but you seem like you're not. I don't know why you're smart, but you definitely are too.
He also has the poker player angle, which I feel like is a more comfortable reason for people to think he's on the show too.
True. Yeah. All right. Those are the 12 contestants. What were do you have any early favorites that you liked? I gave mine away with the math person.
I do end up really liking her. I mean, obviously Sokjin is super hot, so I'm all about that.
Okay.
Um, and Saquon from 17, love that. I felt like at the beginning I was like, I don't know what's up with Yeonwoo, but that'll be cool. Let's see what GoPro has to do. You know?
Oh, okay. I feel like I was the least excited about Youngwoo because she seemed the most passive out of everybody.
Um,
Not that I wouldn't like her. It was just like
I think
I feel
part
like
of it
she was
is
just
like her haircut was like, is this a queer lady? I don't know. I know we're never gonna find out because that's not really a big open thing in Korean culture. But I'm like,
okay.
I'll go with those vibes. So that'll be probably why I was interested in her.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I want to say they maybe had like a chess player or something on the Genius. I'm kind of forgetting. I feel like also they
Yeah, I think so.
might not have been like the most interesting TV personality, but we'll see. Yeah, Dongju, the cool math lawyer, that was my favorite. And then the science guy was funny right away, but who I actually liked, that was who I liked. All right. And then how about this house, Sarah? You want to give me the description of this house that they're going to play this entire 7-day game in?
So they enter into what is kind of like a living room area, although the whole thing is like really tall ceilings, really open. And so there's a big couch and a TV, which is where they get all their instructions from. There's a little kitchen off to the side, but the main part of it is where all the bedrooms are, which I want to say it looks like a really like posh prison behind them. Just because
Yeah,
of
it
the
does.
like layered way it is. It's like it looks exactly like you see a prison on TV where they have the two layers and it's like open and there are walkways. I don't know how else to describe it.
Yeah, it's just like a hallway with yeah, it's a hallway, and you imagine like cells on each side, and then there's like a staircase to go up to the second level, but it's just another metal balcony or whatever. If it was an
and then
actual
there's
prison.
more like cells on
Yeah.
the sides. Yeah,
But instead of being like prison bars, it's like glass rooms,
yeah.
and then the doors like aren't locked. But yeah,
And then they have curtains they can like pull to close over the glass, but for the most part, that's it. There's two beds in each room. There's, some furniture. It looks really fancy, but yeah, just a little bit looks like a prison.
they didn't make them sleep in bunk beds. I feel like that
That's
would have been
true.
my first thought if I was
Yeah.
designing this place, but they didn't do that. So there's enough room for 2 beds in all the rooms.
It does feel like it felt a little Squid Gamey, except they did put them on bunk beds in Squid Game, and it was just they didn't have rooms. But like you have this like living area, and then they move off to a game arena area, and it's all locked, and they're not allowed
Okay.
to move freely between the things. So it's like Squid Game, except if you didn't plan on murdering everybody and you wanted them to have
Oh,
a
maybe
nice
that's what
place
they were
to
going
sleep.
for.
Yeah.
Because in the Genius, there was no living area because they would just arrive and play games.
Yes.
So they were only ever existed in the game area.
Yes.
So yeah, there's this massive living area with a bunch of bedrooms and like a living room in the living area, and then like a dining room
Little
table
kitchen
area.
zone,
Yeah. And then there's a whole separate area of this set, which is the game area, which is just as big as the set for the Genius, but now there's like multiple areas on this show.
Yeah, so in the game area, they have a big central arena, which has a big screen, which is where they're usually getting their instructions from. And then there are hallways off of this big arena. And in those hallways, there are rooms like a kitchen, a security room, some other kinds of rooms that are themed more along the lines of like less homey and more like military outpost, I guess you would say. And there's just a lot of places where they can then close doors and have secret conversations later is mainly the reason they all exist.
Yeah, the rooms aren't in the game area aren't really for functional purposes.
Yeah, but they have a theme, like there is a kitchen, but it's not like for kitchen reasons.
Yeah. It's the main hall is the big open area, and then the rooms that you can go to off the main hall are the dealer's room, which is kind of if you would go there to do things that are part of the game that need to be done in secret, or in this case, they're like if they get murdered in the first game, they have to go there and be sequestered from the rest of the game. And then there's a security room is like the first themed room, and then there's a work room, a storage room, and a kitchen. But they're just kind of like almost like a set design kind
Yeah.
of room, not actually functional. Except for they have functions that you can do for the purpose of the games, but not like they're not expected to ever do building in the workroom or you know what
Yeah,
I mean?
yeah,
Something
exactly.
like that, yeah.
They're not cooking in the kitchen.
At least so
It's-
far. I don't know.
It's just a meeting area or
Yeah.
a place to do a secret thing.
Yeah. And so when it comes to the pieces that everybody has though, when you're in the game, you can't exchange the pieces when you're in the game area, but then when you're in the living area, you can.
Yes. But that doesn't mean you can't promise to give somebody a piece whilst in the game area
Yeah.
and then have to follow up on it later. Or you don't have to, because there are, again, no rules that say you have to follow through on some deals you make.
Yeah, because they're basically giving people the opportunity to like make deals during the game and then not actually
Follow through.
exchange pieces in the living area because you don't. If they let them do it in the game area, then
They would have to do it before the other
They
person
would,
would
like-
do the thing they're
yeah,
bargaining for.
they wouldn't be able to do it on faith alone. So it would be less like forcing people to have to trust each other
Hmm.
because it would just be like, oh, here we are doing a business transaction. But since they actually have to trust each other, it makes it more interesting. So I actually like that they did it that
Mhm.
way. I'm not sure if the prisoners can exchange tokens. I don't think they can.
I mean, it is technically in the game area because the prison is just
I
off of.
guess. Yeah, I guess so.
So yeah, I don't think they can.
I don't think they can either. So yeah, players are gonna hang out in the living room area until the first main match starts. They get assigned their roommates to a room,
Yes.
so production could have some sort of matchings that they like here.
Yeah.
I'm not sure because they end up like putting together like there are two pairs of roommates that like are the same age, or actually
Yeah.
one of them ends up not being the same age, but it's close enough.
It seems like it's mostly by age, but then they also put the YouTubers together, but they also might be by age because I don't know how old they are, but so
Yeah.
there seems like there are themes they're going for.
Do you want to go through all the roommates, or do you want to just point out?
Um,
Not super important.
I don't know that it matters. Do we get any of that matter?
Somebody pointed out when they first came in, like, oh, the roommates are going to be important.
Well, yeah, because in theory, like, it is an excuse to spend some time with somebody and form an alliance.
Yeah,
I don't know that really comes up so much in the first two
in
episodes.
the first episodes, yeah. Hyungrim and Dongju, so the cool math lawyer and the
Everybody's favorite auntie.
everybody's auntie, they are a roommates, and
Hmm.
everybody's auntie knows Dongju's famous mother, so
Of course.
they already have a connection.
Yeah, yeah.
So, and then yeah, like you said, the YouTubers are together.
Yeah, Junbin in orbit. And then we've got Shiwon and Yeonwoo.
Oh, I actually liked Orbit and Junbin's roommate conversation because Junbin
Oh, yeah.
was like, we should align and get all the pieces, which like makes a lot of sense because it's like only two people can get to the end of the game, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So he's
But
like,
then
yeah, we should align and
Orbit's
go
like, yeah, Orbit's like, I want all 12 people to make it to the final round. And Junbin's like, the fuck? What?
yeah, what? This was literally like Orbit's like mission of the show for some reason is to like make sure nobody gets eliminated.
Yeah, as a person who's many episodes ahead, this is a
Oh,
theme.
It's not gonna go away. You would think
It
like
does
he
not
would-
go away.
Yeah, you would think like he would learn his lesson maybe after the first main match.
He
Like some
does
people are a little
not.
more like group oriented in the first match until they get totally screwed and realize like they're in last place and they're like, fuck
Mhm.
that. I'm just gonna look out for myself from now on.
Yeah, yeah.
But he's like, nah, my goal is to wait. What's weird is like I don't know if he watched the Genius, and they're like on the Genius, since the pieces were tied to the prize money of the show, it did make sense on that show at times to like that show had the threat of like, oh, if you don't do well, you get eliminated, so maybe you don't want to necessarily work together.
Mm-hmm.
On that show, there was like a strategy of like, okay, regardless of what team you are on in the main match, like you could just work together as a group and just try to get as many pieces handed out as
Into the
possible,
game, yeah.
because that would increase the prize pool of the TV show as much as possible. But in this show, they're not tied to the prize pool, so I don't know. I don't know if this was just like a strategy he had from watching The Genius, but like it doesn't actually make any sense.
Yeah.
to play
And
this
then when
way.
he does try to tie the pieces more to like he does some stuff later to like try to get more pieces in the game because he doesn't want people to get eliminated. And it's like, well, if production wants to eliminate people, they're gonna change the rules day to day to eliminate more or less pieces based entirely on how many people they want to get rid of, right? Like
Yeah.
because there are no set rules for like, oh, at the end of every day, the last person in whatever game is going to lose this many pieces. Like it changes from game to game. So
Yeah.
like it is silly and he harps on it for way too long.
Yeah, production is definitely just gonna be changing. Like if players come up with a strategy that's like breaking the show, they'll just like change it to make the show
Yeah.
better, you know?
Yeah.
So Orbit's kind of like trying to break the show a little bit in a way that doesn't actually help him win.
Yes.
But it just I don't know. I don't really get it.
And in a way kind of goes against the spirit of the show, which is the show is supposed to like you're supposed to succeed if you're like good at the game. Whereas his thing is let's just make everybody who's good get to the end. And that's not it.
Yeah, the only logic that would make sense is if somehow having more people made it easier to win the prize matches to like make the prize pool bigger, but like he has no evidence to make that
Yeah.
like seem like it's true.
And again, production is just going to adjust to how many people are in the game at any given time because they
Yeah.
know they want to give a certain amount of money away at least. They don't want them to not have a prize pool at the end of the show,
Yeah.
so they're going to adjust things.
It would make more sense if he like was trying to identify like later in the game after maybe they've played a match or two, like, okay, this person's not that good. And
Mhm.
maybe like he identifies like, okay, this person's really helpful in the prize matches. Like I'm gonna if they're about to get eliminated, I'm gonna help them survive. Like that would make sense if he wants to keep the prize pool as big as possible. Like he could help specific people survive if they were gonna get eliminated. But
no, he ends up trying to help literally everybody in a way where like he essentially makes the biggest alliance, but it's the alliance of people who aren't good at the game.
oh really? Okay.
But they steamroll over people who are good at the game just because there's so many people in it.
Oh yeah, well, that's a big part of the game.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can get into like once we get into the main match, we can get into like, okay, here's the strategy of the main match, but you also can't forget about the main strategy of the TV show,
Yes.
which is like
yes.
actually more important. If you get like too into a single match and like worried about winning like a specific match, you can kind of get lost in the actual
absolutely.
objective of the show. Yeah, I don't think we need to go through all the roommates unless there's like a dynamic that you wanted to talk about.
I think the biggest dynamic we see early on is this Junbin Orbit, like early on team up is really all that's happening.
Or not team up. I can't really tell. Oh, Junbin also wants to work with Dungjae because he just like thinks he's a smart student.
Yeah,
Whatever,
yeah.
getting good vibes. But then they go to Dungjae in a confessimal, and he's like, I would prefer not to work with Junbin. Like he's not getting good vibes.
yeah, exactly.
From Junbin. I would say I would also not be getting good vibes from Junbin. Honestly, he's a little.
He's a little too open, and like it feels a little klutzy in some ways when he's like trying to like make connections and whatever. And it's like I would like somebody who's a little smoother, please.
Yeah, it's a little like too overconfident.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
but also like in a very open way, like you were saying, like he wants everybody to know he's confident, kind of way.
Yeah.
That wouldn't be the person I would want to be tied to either. Yeah. Oh, and then I noticed Hyesun talks to Guillaume in English, the
yeah.
Canadian guy,
Mm-hmm.
and then he like responds in English, which I thought was weird
Yes.
because that's like people sporadically like use English phrases when they're talking in general, but
Mhm.
like I don't know, I feel like she went out of her way to whatever they were talking about. Oh, they were talking about Orbit, and she was like, he always talks about science, and he was like, yeah, I can tell, I can see that or something. But it was like a weird thing to say specifically to Guillaume in English because I don't is English Guillaume's first language? I don't think it is. It's just like I guess the common language that they both know. But I mean, Guillaume knows Korean too, but maybe his Korean's a little weak.
I mean, Guillaume's from Canada, so English is probably his first language, I would imagine.
Well, some of them are French though, right?
Well, yeah, but that's
he seemed very
I think
French to me.
well, that's true, but in those cases, I think it's an English and French situation.
Oh yeah.
You know,
I'm not saying he doesn't know English. I'm just I don't know. I thought it was interesting
yeah. I
because he
actually
speaks
had
Korean.
yeah, he does. I had the subtitles on and the dubs on because
Oh shit.
it was just easier to take notes that way.
Okay.
And so I didn't notice when people were slipping into English.
That's savage.
Yeah.
Okay. I feel like who you like might totally change based on like the just whoever's
The
doing
tone,
the
yeah.
the dub for that person.
I mean, Sokshin's still hot no matter what language, so it's fine.
All right. And then the show does these like flash forwards, which I forgot about, which are also a production strategy on the Genius.
Yeah.
But this flash forward is more just like of the
The
entire
whole
season, right?
show. Yeah.
Yeah. So somebody's crying. I believe Dongju says "what the fuck" at some point in English in the flash forward, which I at first I thought was weird, but then I was like, oh, this is actually just on Netflix, so maybe it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But also, I feel like if you say "fuck" in English on Korean TV, I feel like that doesn't matter at all.
Yeah, I think that definitely gets through a lot more than it should.
I think it just doesn't matter. Like they just don't care about it. It's
Yeah.
Netflix, so it
It's
doesn't
not
matter.
that.
But
Well, yeah, but I would say it doesn't matter because it's in English. If they were to say the Korean word for fuck, that would matter
oh yeah.
on Korean TV. Yeah.
Yeah. They don't do any like the Genius did a lot of like fast forwards for the current episode. They didn't do that,
Yeah.
did they?
Not in this one.
Not in this one. Do they do it in later ones? They are kind of they are kind of I think they are good. I kind of do like them.
Yeah. And it doesn't like ruin the surprise either because I swear sometimes like the episode gets so intense you forget that there was a flash forward earlier and then you're like,
Yeah.
"Oh, right, this thing."
If anything, they might just overhype something that happens,
Yeah, that's true.
but they usually don't spoil anything. All right, and it's time for the main match.
Yeah,
They got to talk for a little while, but yeah, it's time for the main match. Let's go. Let's get into it. Do you like this creepy hallway they have to walk through to get to?
Yeah, that is very Squid Game.
It's not as creepy as the hallway to get to prison hallway. The prison hallway is incredible.
Yeah. Especially because at first you don't think there's a hallway. You think it is just a teeny alcove that is their prison
It's
cell.
the prison. Yeah. They also see the dealers for the first time when they go into the game area.
They are very
the dealers
serious
are great.
looking people.
The dealers are so good on these shows. Like they're basically supposed to be like they're almost like the Queen's Guard almost of like
yeah,
like in England where like
they won't break character no matter what you do.
Yeah, I mean if you ask them a question related to the game, they do answer you, but like they kind of just stand there and don't do anything until like they need to do something related to the game. So they're great. I think there was a funny dynamic in the Genius where like some of them would just try to get them to crack, and they like got one of the dealers to like smile. So I don't know if that'll happen on this show. But yeah, here we go. We're getting into the main match here. So
yes,
is the guy that comes on the TV, is he supposed to be the devil?
I don't know.
On the Genius, it was a guy with like looked like a mummy, like he had bandage face.
Oh yeah. This guy's got a mask situation on.
Well, he's got like a mask.
Right?
Yeah, it's like a mask with like a video screen.
Yeah.
Face, like emoji kind of face.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if he's supposed to be the devil or whatever.
Maybe.
Again, the lore I'm not caught up on the show.
Yeah.
But they're gonna play the Virus game.
Yes.
Which is a variation of a Mafia style game.
Or Werewolf, or there are a lot of games that are similar, like a hidden role style game.
Yeah, I'm down to explain this whole game. But it is actually kind of insane how complicated this game is for for one episode of a TV show. Like, I don't know how normal this is in Korea, but like this would never be on it would at least never be on broadcast television in the US.
Yeah.
Like they would just be like, this is too complicated. Nobody's gonna watch this.
Yeah, exactly.
Like I love it, but even for me, like the first time I watched it, like I got a sense of what the rules were, but it wasn't until I sat down for the podcast and like really took notes that I 100% understood every aspect of the game.
Yeah, exactly.
So let's break it down. This is only for like the afternoon of the first day that this game is going to be played. Like every main match is a different game, so this is just the first episode game.
Mm-hmm.
Every episode could have a game that's as complicated, if not more complicated, in this game that they're playing.
Okay, so let's start with the baseline first pass, simplest version of the rules. There are terrorists spreading a virus versus citizens who are trying to stop them. And the players all pick a number from a bag. The number dictates when they go into the dealer's room to randomly pick their role. They do not show their role to anybody else. And each type of role has a unique ability, which we will get all into. But that is the baseline. Like, during each round, at different stages, different roles can do different things. But so that's terrorists versus citizens stopping spreading a virus is the theme.
Doesn't sound too complicated. Let me tell you the very specific the specifics of all these characters and roles. Do you want me to just go and you can interject?
Yeah, sure. Go for it.
Here we go. All right, so everybody's randomly assigned a role and a number, because the number is going to be important in terms of deciding how the infection gets spread.
Yes, and everybody knows the numbers.
Yeah, the numbers are public.
Yeah.
They were random, but they didn't draw them secretly. The numbers they put little like number things on their arms.
Yeah.
All right. These are the possible rules that you can get. There's going to be 2 terrorists. Now, what? Tell me this: do the terrorists know who each other are?
When the rules are explained, they say that the terrorists will learn each other's identities as the game progresses. They never show us what point that is. So I have to assume, like, after everybody's picked roles, they are informed.
Okay. I actually don't know. I heard that same thing, but then there's like stuff that happens later which makes me think like they knew immediately. So
well, yeah, I think
I'm curious.
Well, they have to wait until like everybody picks their roles, and then I think like production pulls people aside or moves them to separate places for a moment, and then they can inform them.
Okay. But they have to do that in a way where it's not obvious that they're pulling like a specific person for specific information.
Yeah, I think they probably just like do the same thing to everybody and go, do you have any questions about your role or something like that?
All right, let's talk about the other things that terrorists do, and then we can maybe figure it out. So the other thing that's weird is if they didn't know who each other's were, right?
Mm-hmm.
The first thing the terrorists have to do is like infect one person, right?
Yes.
And they can only do this once the entire game, and it makes sense to do it like immediately in the first round, basically.
Mm-hmm.
But like only one of them, they can only do one infection together, which also makes me think they must know each other in the beginning.
Well, they're supposed to discuss and pick who they infect, but like the actual action they have to do to infect someone, I think only one of them has to do. And it's during
but
the
round. They must have talked about it together, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I think they just know each other are. I kind of wish they didn't know who each other were. I feel like that might be better, but I'm not sure.
Yeah.
And then so then each terrorist also has an antidote which they can take once during the game, which will if the terrorists get infected, they can basically cure themselves.
Yes.
And then they also each have one bullet which they can use to kill, just straight up kill and take somebody out of the game once in the whole game, but they can only do it once in the entire game.
And in order to win, at least one of them must be alive at the end, and they must have killed all of the players, unless they like. There's a weird thing where they could choose to use the antidote on somebody who is not them, and if they do that, that person is allowed to be alive at the end. But that does not come up, and doesn't matter.
I don't know why they'd explain it that way.
Yeah, it was weird.
The other thing is there's going to be one person, or maybe this is what they meant when they were talking about it. Like there's one person who can be infected, but then they will immediately get cured because they are like immune, basically.
Oh, maybe that's what they meant.
And
yeah,
that person can't be killed unless they're shot, and then that person can't prevent the terrorists from winning. Basically, is the idea.
Yeah.
But okay, yeah. So the terrorists are trying to infect everybody or get everybody killed.
And at least one of them has to be alive, yeah. And if they do that, they will each get 4 pieces.
Yes, 4 pieces. Regardless of whether they're dead or alive, yeah.
Yes.
All right, and then there's citizens. There are 5 ordinary citizens. Okay, well, so the citizens, if you're a citizen, you win by either killing the terrorists before everybody dies, or you have to develop the cure.
Yeah.
This is already
which is a whole thing.
Once they got to developing the cure, I was like, oh shit, this is getting real complicated. Yeah.
And if they win, they each get one piece,
Yeah.
regardless of if they're alive or not.
Yeah. So there's 3 different kinds of citizens. There's 5 ordinary citizens. This is amazing.
And they do not know who each other are.
Yeah. Nobody knows who anybody else is except I think
except for the terrorists. Yeah.
Yeah. One of the ordinary citizens, and there's 5 of them, possesses the antibodies to the virus.
But doesn't know it. Nobody knows it.
Yeah. Which thematically makes sense, but also makes it hard. Yeah. So they could still be infected, but then as soon as they
will spend one round infected, and then on the next round, they will no longer be infected.
Yeah.
But they can also still infect others. So the way, I guess we should explain the infection bit, is so the terrorists infect somebody on one round. And then I think it's in that same round, that person will infect the people whose numbers are one below and one above them. So if number 6 gets infected, that means number 5 and number 7 are also infected.
Mm-hmm.
And it takes 2 rounds of being infected to die. And each round, another person on the edge of the circle of numbers gets infected. So it keeps spreading through everybody.
Yeah. So the person who's possessed the antibodies will get the virus and pass it on, but then will immediately be cured after passing it on.
There's on their second round, they will no longer be considered infected. But they won't necessarily know that unless they check in a box, which we can get to later, I guess.
Well, there's going to be this basically COVID test station that they can go to and check to see if they've been infected. But you
can only use it once per game, and it only tells you if you're currently infected.
Yeah, it doesn't tell you if you have antibodies.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. All right. The second kind of citizen you can be is a researcher. There's 2 researchers, and they have the ability to develop the cure. But basically, they have to what it's going to end up being is they have to hold somebody's hand for 5 seconds, right?
And they can only do it to one person per round. And then at the end of that round, there's sort of a summary stage where the announcer's this many people are infected, these people are dead, and either no progress has been made on the cure or step 1 of the cure has been. And so step 1 is shaking hands with the person who has the antibodies, which again, nobody knows who it is. And then what happened? Oh, I forget what makes the second round of development happen. It's just, it happens automatically. I think.
No, you just have to join hands again in another round with the antibody person. But basically, you have to do it twice. So theoretically, if you get it right, you join hands. The researchers join hands with the correct citizen. They'll find out, and then if they're there's 2 researchers, so I don't know. It gives you a clue. It's okay, maybe you touched the right hands. But there's 2 researchers can each touch somebody, and then one of them could get killed, and then you're not sure. Yeah,
or one of the person whose hands they shaked could get killed, and then you can't finish. So it's dangerous.
After we explain all these rules, we should just talk about the rules. But after the game gets explained to them, they basically get 60 minutes to just talk about the strategy of the game
and go over the rules
before, and really learn the rules before they before they're even assigned a role. And I think we should. I feel like the bulk of this, I want to talk about, if you were in me were in the game.
Yeah.
How would we be talking to each other, and what would we be thinking and strategizing around?
Exactly.
So we'll do that after we explain all the rules here. And then researchers also, if they do develop the cure, will get an extra piece on top of the one they get for beating.
Yes.
For winning. And then the last citizen role is a journalist, which is there only one of them.
Yes.
And they have the ability to investigate the identity of one person each round. So,
and they will know that person's role, but they will not know if they have antibodies.
Yeah, they still don't get to know the antibodies. So antibodies can only be discovered by just randomly holding hands with people that you think are citizens.
Yes.
All right. And then there's neutral people. There's 2 neutral people.
Yes.
Who aren't citizens or terrorists. So their objectives don't line up with.
Yeah, they theoretically do not care who wins. They are just out to get as many pieces as possible.
Yeah, it's a little weird. So the first neutral person is the officer, where there's
who
one
seems
officer.
is on the side of the citizens.
yeah.
But sure.
It seems like they should be a citizen because their goal is to just kill the two terrorists.
Yes.
They're the only person that can really kill the terrorists because their ability is like each round they can shoot one person and kill them.
Yes.
And they're the only person that can kill the terrorists unless a terrorist somehow lets the virus kill them, which since they have antidotes, it doesn't seem like that should be possible.
Yeah.
Unless there's a strategic reason to do it.
But like the thing I guess that distinguishes the officer is that if they manage to kill both terrorists by the end of the second round, they're going to get 4 pieces. And with each round that goes by after that, it'll decrease by 1 piece.
Yeah.
When they finally kill both of them. So that's why they separate them out. Just
yeah, I guess
'cause
they
they're
thought the
theoretically
officer
doing
was
that.
just like too strong for like getting a piece by being a citizen and then also getting.
I guess. Yeah.
That doesn't really make sense that they're not also a citizen because their objective like totally lines up with the citizens.
Yeah.
So that's a little weird. But then the one neutral person that makes sense is the fanatic, and their objective is just to get killed in any way possible. Right?
As soon as possible.
As soon as possible. Yeah, they want to get
because it's a similar thing where if they die in the first round, they get 3 pieces. In the second or third round, it'll be 2 pieces, and if the fourth round, it's 1 piece. So
yeah.
Yeah.
A fanatic could get like hell lucky and just be the first infected, and then they just die in 2 rounds anyway, right?
yeah, but you still want to go for that first round, you know? Just look suspicious as hell. Try to get shot.
Yeah, so each round is 30 minutes.
But there is no round limit. It just continues.
There's no round limit, but you know, at some point everybody's going to die from the infection.
Yeah,
if you don't do
exactly.
anything. So there is.
But it does kind of
there is a
result
round
at the
limit.
end of this, like too many rounds, I think, have had to have happened, like where no one could do anything but wait.
The players that die will be isolated in the dealer's room, and then their name and their role will be announced to everybody once you die.
Yes.
So like killing somebody like kind of gives you information, even if it's like you're not necessarily 100% sure like they're against you or whatever.
So the
You at least,
officer
like,
should
learn
always
something.
be killing somebody.
Maybe. I don't know. We'll talk about that when the officer's decisions
Yeah.
when they get there. Yeah, so when you get infected, basically you only have like 1 more round to live before you'll
Mhm.
die at the start. You'll die at the end of the next round if you don't get cured.
Yeah, and like getting cured is just the citizens winning the game. There's nothing you can do to stop your own personal death at that point.
Yeah, because it doesn't make sense to like get the terrorists to cure you, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense. Unless you have the antibodies, you might just survive from that.
That's true.
And then each player can take a test once per game, a virus test once per game. What's big is the virus test is also private. So it's like you can help yourself get information, but people still have to trust you.
Yeah.
Whatever you say you got resulted from the test. Yeah, and then they get 60 minutes to talk before the game starts.
Yeah.
Right, Sarah? You and I, we're on this show, ready?
Okay. Are we theoretically in an alliance?
Yeah, let's talk as if like, okay, we're getting good vibes off each other. We
Okay.
feel like we can work together, right?
Sure. I don't know. With this thing, it's just like I wouldn't want to make any plans ahead of time because, well, first of all, I'm just really bad at lying games. Like I'm just gonna
Sure.
put that out there. But so like if we end up on opposite teams, like obviously there goes our
Oh, see,
Our,
I'm moving past you and going to the next person to talk to because that is
Oh,
not,
yeah,
that's
yeah.
not
That's
how
not
I'm
the-
talking. That's
Okay.
not, you're not the person I'm looking for, sir.
yeah, exactly. Like I said, I'm bad at these things.
So the whole thing is like I would want to find like at least one person in the game that is like willing to work with you regardless of what team you're on,
yeah,
right? And
Mhm.
then once you say what your roles are to each other, you just like decide between you two like, okay, what's the like how do we get the most
yeah.
pieces together? You know what I mean?
hmm
So that's how I would go about it. And we're gonna
Yeah,
see
that makes sense.
Now, the people that end up working together in this episode, like, they got very good roles for working together.
Oh, absolutely.
But I'm like, I'd be totally down to just, like, if I found somebody that I thought I could trust, like, I would just be like, I'll tell you my role no matter what it is. Like, I don't care.
And then, worst case scenario, you're both citizens and have no power to do anything.
I mean,
special in the game.
worst case scenario is like, I'm the terrorist and I tell them and they're the officer and then they just like immediately kill me because they didn't actually want to work together or something.
Yeah. But if you wanted to work together with the officer, it's a quick way to get 4 coins or 4 pieces between the two of you, because you just have to then betray the other terrorist, and then the officer can shoot both of you. There you go. 4 coins.
No, but the
4
terrorist
pieces.
gets it regardless of whether they're alive or not. So betraying the other terrorist doesn't matter, right?
No. What I'm saying is, if I'm the officer and you're a terrorist, you tell me who the other terrorist is. Round 1, I shoot them. Round 2, I shoot you. I get 4 pieces. I share them with you. We've accomplished the game.
Oh, you could do that, yeah. But then everybody else would get 1. So the better way for us to play, I guess would be more risky, would be to like, since you're the officer, like I will never die to anything except the virus, right? So we could just play the whole objective of the game would just be figuring out who the researchers are. And if we kill the researchers, then I would get, it depends on what I guess the other terrorists would also be getting coins. Like we could work together with the other terrorists too, like pull them in.
Oh, then it would be 8 pieces.
Then we'd get
between
8
the 3
pieces,
of us.
right?
Yeah. Okay,
but then there's like
better.
a risk. There's a risk of us like not figuring out who the researchers are. That'd be like the only risk.
I feel like if you've got 3 people shooting people round 1,
yeah,
you got a pretty good.
Yeah, you can literally 3-man shoot. Yeah, so I think there's like so many benefits if you can just find somebody that's willing to like not worry about winning the game, and worry about just, hey, we're in an alliance where we're gonna get as many pieces for ourselves as possible. And since 2 people can make it to the end, like ideally you just have 2 people you could trust, but you could open it up to more people.
Yeah.
But chances are, with the way that people are going to go about this, especially in the first game, like a 2-man alliance can probably win the first game by themselves because everybody else isn't thinking that way yet.
That's true. And are you also aiming to stop other people from getting pieces, or do you theoretically want more pieces into the mix?
You want the biggest gap possible between you and everybody else.
Because you have no way to guarantee getting those pieces from those people, so yeah.
If we were the terrorist and officer, like maybe we would be incentivized to just shoot the 2 terrorists and take the 4, because then like there's not a third person who also has pieces.
Yeah.
We would just be like the 2 in the front.
But you also have to think is like, because this is early on and you theoretically are going to have to work outside of your initial 2-person alliance at some point. Are you just going to piss everybody off by this move immediately?
Oh, but you wouldn't make it obvious that that's what you're doing. You just be like, damn, the officer's like so good. I guess like if you were the officer, people would be like, oh my God, maybe they'd be intimidated by you or something.
Except here's the thing, at the end or at the beginning of the main match, regularly they update you on how many pieces everybody has. So when you, as the person who played the terrorist, shows up with 2 pieces later, and I only have 2 pieces, they're gonna figure it out.
Yeah, you could play a little game where like you don't exchange the pieces right away, but then you're like really putting, like if I let you kill me and then you're holding onto the pieces, like I'm putting a lot of faith that you'll just like give me pieces later.
Or that we'll even get to the point where I'm ready to give you pieces before you need them. Because you can't trade in the game arena. And so if I don't trade before the next main match and you come in last place at that match and don't, lose enough pieces, then you're out of the game.
Yeah, I actually haven't seen the negative thing, but yeah, you're right. I think you wouldn't be able to do that. So you're right. Everybody would just see like you shared pieces with me and then
ruined the game immediately. Like, yeah.
They would probably know. Yeah. So yeah, again, like you can figure out a way to work together and hack the game, but you have to think about all the repercussions of doing that and whether or not it's worth it. Like the social aspect of this is like actually like way more important almost than the wits aspect. Like the games are so complicated that you do need to be able to understand them in order to execute like whatever social plan you come up with. But the social aspect is probably the most important ultimately.
Yeah.
There's also like there's added, or like if you take a lead early in the show, like people are going to be incentivized to maybe not work with you, or like the people that are behind are going to work together. Like, yeah, there's a lot of factors actually in deciding what to do. So like, yeah, even if you do work with somebody or figure out a way to win the game, I don't know.
You just have to factor so many things, yeah. Like, so the safer route, theoretically, for not pissing off everybody immediately would be to bring in the other terrorist and play the long game to win the game. So I feel like if you get to the end and, oh, the officer was, not on the officer's side the whole time, people are going to be less pissed than just like, you just ended the game in 2 rounds. We didn't get to do anything.
Yeah, yeah. How about this? This is the ultimate plan. Here we go.
Okay.
So like let's say we get the perfect scenario, right? Like terrorist officer or whatever.
Yeah.
Not that you can guarantee this, but let's say you just kill the 2 terrorists and you win the coins, right?
Mm-hmm.
The pieces. And then you use the pieces in the living area, and like we like together we talk and we choose like, because among us we would have 6, right? So let's say we each want to have 2, right? So say there's like, wait, how would this work? You give me 1, so I have 2, and then so you have what? You have 4. You have 4,
yeah.
right? So then we can like talk about like 2 other people we want to work with, and then you give like 1 piece to 2 other people to get them like in on the alliance, basically. And then it just looks like
I'm just out here building an alliance instead of we tanked this game.
Like you would look like you're doing something maybe, but at least it wouldn't look like we're like somebody broke the game necessarily.
Yeah.
Which might like rub people the wrong way even more. But you can, and then like less people are gonna hate you if like you ultimately gave them a piece. I don't know. I feel like you the pieces are definitely worth like leveraging social capital basically with.
Yeah.
Which is, but in this episode, we're gonna mostly see like people being like, "Oh, you helped me win the game, so I'll give you like part of my winnings," basically. But it's not. They're not doing it in the sense of like I'm trying to win you over necessarily. It's just like it almost just feels like they're just like they feel socially obligated to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, more than anything.
And now that I think about it a little bit more, like even if we did perfect scenario, terrorist officer team up, officer kills in 2 rounds, like all the citizens are going to be pretty happy because they get the piece for winning, the piece for surviving. Yeah.
Oh, I forgot the people get piece for winning. Oh yeah, we don't want to do that.
Yeah.
Fuck that. We have to bring in the terrorist and somehow bring the second terrorist in on the whole scheme. And
now this is like a perfect
their things.
a perfect spread of roles for a team up, but like there's so many combinations in here.
I know.
It's just not going to get you anywhere useful.
Yeah, so what role do you want to get, Sarah? What would you be hoping for?
Like if I'm going into this and I don't have anybody that I'm like ready to team up with, I'm just like, just give me ordinary citizens so I can't fuck up and it's fine.
Oh, really?
Like,
That's
I'm just trying to like lay low, not make big moves. I know I'm bad at lying games. Just whatever.
My instinct was like, oh, I want to be the fanatic so bad. I just want to try to get killed.
Really?
Like it can't be that hard to get killed. Like you just have to look like a liar. Now, like other people, like the terrorists are also bad. Like they're also going to seem like liars. But even then, like it's still like almost a coin flip that you'll get killed anyway, basically.
There are 3 different people you can convince to kill you. You can look like you're a terrorist and get the officer to kill you.
Yeah.
Or you could look like the journalist and get the terrorist to kill you. Or the researcher or something useful. Like
there's so many ways to get killed. Or we could just get lucky and just die to the infection early. Like the fanatic seems so good. I think it's the easiest role. But still easy, but in terms of like the odds of you winning, but still fun where you can do stuff to get yourself killed and stuff. And it's like a little like you might rub people the wrong way, but it's kind of like a funny role to have. Like I feel like nobody's gonna be like, you're not really on anybody's team, so nobody's gonna be mad at you if you win, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like you weren't against either side necessarily, although
you just distracted them from
although with
stuff.
What's gonna happen in the episode, it's a little
the way this
different.
actually plays out is totally different.
I feel like ordinary citizen would be the one I wouldn't want, just because the only thing you have as an ordinary citizen is trying to figure out if you're the antibody person or not.
I mean, you can still help trying to figure out who people are.
Yeah, you can do what everybody else is doing, but there's no like
you have no special abilities to help you with that. Yeah.
So here's an ordinary citizen. So like the researchers can only hold hands,
Yes.
with one person. We're gonna get into. I love talking about this before we get into it because I are you aware of like what they knew each role had to do? Because I think some of the things were secret, but not necessarily all of them. So like the
Okay,
researcher.
so I think like everybody knows that people have abilities, but they don't know how the actions they have to do to use those abilities.
Do you think that's true for researcher?
Yeah, like I think that everybody knew that they have to like develop the cure, but nobody knows what that action actually looks like.
Okay. So if I was an ordinary citizen, I wouldn't even know that, oh, like somebody's gonna have to hold my hand to try to develop the cure. I wouldn't know
Yeah.
that. Oh, okay. Well, then it's
And
totally
it turns into
sucks.
like it's somebody holds your hand on a specific bench even. Like it's very prescribed.
Oh, it's that
but,
one? It's
like,
a specific
yeah,
bench?
it's a
Oh, really?
specific bench they have to sit on and hold their hand for like 5 seconds.
Oh, that's very silly. Okay.
Yeah.
I thought the 5 seconds was the thing that was like, you didn't accidentally hold somebody's hand. It was like, you did for 5 seconds intentionally, basically.
Yeah,
But
so we can
okay.
go through the other ones. Like the journalist has a particular phone in there are 2 different rooms that have phones and they just go in and they go, tell me who this person is.
The reason I was wondering specifically for the researchers was because I thought as an ordinary citizen, if I knew the mechanic to do the research
Uh-huh.
step, the development step, you could just like go hold every single person's hand. Now
Oh,
you
yeah.
don't know if there's a side effect of holding other like an infected person's hand.
Yeah.
It ends up not being the case. But then like if I held everybody's hand in a round and then we developed a cure, unless other people were doing the same thing I was, like I could at least find out like if I had the antibodies or not, you know.
Yeah.
Now if a researcher told me that's the mechanic, then I could try to touch everybody's hand.
But at that point, if a researcher told you, then you'd know who the researcher was. So you don't have to hold everybody's hands.
If they like prove to me they know the rule, yeah. Unless they got told by a researcher and now they're pretending to be yeah, you never
Yeah,
really
yeah.
know 100%, but yeah. Yeah, I would definitely want like something, a role that does something. You know? I wouldn't just want to sit there.
I feel like the researcher role is just like too tedious.
It's hard. I think it's very hard.
Yeah. The terrorist role is too like, oh no, I have to hide who I am real hard. And that I could deal with being a journalist, but I would not play it the way the journalist gets played in this because you should not say who you are ever as the journalist. And she immediately tells everyone she's the journalist.
Yeah.
And the officer is too much pressure. You have to kill the right people. I don't know.
Yeah, the officer is an important role. Oh, what role? Like what everybody does is they pretend to be an ordinary citizen regardless of their role. Is
Yeah.
that the move?
That's the move.
Is there a better role to pretend to be besides that?
No, because everything else people can figure out.
What if I just pretend to be the fanatic?
And to be the fanatic.
Like I'm actually an ordinary citizen, but I'm pretending to be the fanatic.
What benefit do you get from that?
I don't know how you would pretend
I
to
guess
be the fanatic.
you would not get shot.
You would not get shot,
theoretically.
yeah. So like
Because
if
people
you
wouldn't
had
want
the
to waste their
antibodies,
shot
you
on
wouldn't get
you.
killed.
Okay.
But I mean, like, I don't know how you pretend to be the fanatic because the fanatic would never tell somebody they're the fanatic.
Yeah, you'd have to pretend to be a terrorist or
Yeah, you'd
a
have to like
useful
pretend to
role,
be the
yeah.
terrorist, but you're actually an ordinary citizen, which is probably causing too much chaos if you're an ordinary citizen.
Yeah.
So I guess if you're an ordinary citizen, you want like the game to be as tame as possible. So you probably
Yes.
just say you're an ordinary citizen, like everybody
Yep.
else is. Plus, you also want like the researcher to like come up to you and be like, "Oh, you're an ordinary citizen. Let's hold hands."
Yeah, yeah.
The ordinary citizen knows like they have to interact with the researcher in some way. They just don't know what it is.
Yeah.
Okay.
And a person who is a researcher should never tell anyone why they are holding their hands.
Unless they trust them. But yeah.
And really, you should trust no one. So.
Well, I mean, I think you should find people you trust and trust them 100%. And then,
Oh yeah, yeah.
I mean, like, especially in this first game, like they don't know how the show works necessarily, but there's actually like no risk of going home in this game. So you might
Yeah.
as well like find somebody and like try to build an alliance with them and like just 100% trust each other. And if they like fuck you over, at least you know not to trust them anymore. You know, it's
Yeah.
like at least you're not eliminated.
That's true.
Because ultimately, like no matter what, I guess if the citizens had won, a bunch of people would have had like 2 tokens,
Yeah.
but like yeah, I don't know. I really think on the show like finding a person or two that you just work together no matter what is the strategy.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. Okay. Let's break down what actually happens on this show. I talking about the games honestly is like the biggest fun part of watching the show to me. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
what would you do if you were on this show? But all right. Uh, yeah, I don't think any of the players that talk, any of the conversations before the game start was overly interesting.
Yeah, because they don't show us the interesting ones until a flashback
Yeah,
later.
we get a flashback later, but it's just like people like speculating, but they don't even know the role yet, so it's like it doesn't really.
And
mean anything.
Orbit goes around being like, if I, I have a role, I have a way for the citizens to win. So, citizens come find me after everybody picks their roles.
Yeah, no one wants to be a citizen more than Orbit.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he just like, I'm gonna make the good guys win, but like there are no good guys. Like this guy,
Yeah.
I don't really understand this guy's mentality.
But also, like, okay, so his big strat is like, let's all stand in a circle according to our numbers and social distance. So that way no one can infect anyone. And then
This is super interesting.
the researchers are like, but bro, we can't do anything. We can't research things if we're in a circle. So he's like using it as a way to see who's going to object to his plan because he figures they're terrorists. But like literally everybody who has something to do in this game is like, but then I can't do the thing I need to do in this game.
So the thing is, so Orbit actually does end up being an ordinary citizen. So he actually doesn't know any of the mechanisms for people to like do their role specific action. But it is like kind of smart for him to think like, okay, the terrorists have to infect somebody, and there's like a good chance that like they're going to do that by touching somebody.
Yeah.
It's actually like kind of good next level thinking.
Except it's not that. That's not how they infect people, but
it ends up being
fine.
wrong, but it is an interesting thought.
Yeah. But the best he does with this strategy, and again, it's not like his real strategy. He's mostly using it to see how people react.
Do you think he actually, from the start, that was his plan? Like he knew people wouldn't do it?
Well, because the best this plan does is get a stalemate. There's no way to like develop the cure if you're all just standing there staring at each other in a circle for half an hour.
But he doesn't know that. But does he, what I'm saying is, do you think he actually knew that this was a bad strategy and he just offered it because he would get reads out of people? Or did he think it was a good strategy and then people were like, no, this is dumb, and he was like, oh, but then after the fact was like, oh, I still got information out of that?
I'm inclined to believe that he figured out that there's no way to win.
Oh, you think he actually did? Okay.
Yeah.
I don't, but he doesn't know any of the information, so I feel like
right, but he also doesn't know how people get infected, and he made assumptions about that, which I think following down that route, you would also assume that, oh yeah, you probably have to do something to make a cure that isn't just stand around and stare at each other,
Okay. I kind of thought that he like didn't think that far ahead and just thought they could win by.
I mean, maybe that's true.
I don't know. I mean, maybe
if that's true, good cover up with saying he was getting a read off of people.
Yeah, I couldn't tell if he was giving himself too much credit, or I mean, it definitely got a read off people, but the read is like, oh, okay, if anybody reacted in a weird way to it, it was like, okay, you're not an ordinary citizen, because only the ordinary citizen couldn't do anything.
Which is still information.
Oh yeah, it's definitely actually a lot of information, and I feel like it wasn't until the second time that I watched this that I realized that, and then I was like, oh yeah, the people that reacted weren't ordinary citizens. I didn't actually like fully understand the first time I watched it, what Orbit was like in trying to do. I was just like, this seems dumb. But when I got it the second time, I was like, okay, we actually learned information from this. Okay, the only role that gets revealed to us right away is the journalist role, which is everybody's auntie.
Yes.
Kyung-rim. Yeah, so the audience knows that one right away. That one makes sense to show the audience right away, I think.
Yeah, especially because she does not keep it a secret for long at all. She tells a lot of people right away.
Yeah, she tells like, who does she tell right away? It's like Dong-jae, the perfect student, right? He's like,
yeah, which turns out to be like the worst person to tell.
It's not like the worst person, but like for some reason Dong-jae's like, I'm a citizen, and she's just like, I believe you, and then just tells her the role. She's the first person to say she's not an ordinary citizen, right? Everybody else is just like, yeah, I'm just an ordinary citizen. And then Dong-jae says that he's an ordinary citizen, of course. So
of course,
not only Kyungrim's the only one we know, but that's the only one anybody knows
Yeah.
besides themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when round one starts, this is actually before Orbit can do his social distancing strategy.
Mm-hmm.
Siwon, the actress inventor, she like grabs Orbit and like pulls him aside. And this is actually like if they plan this shit, this is like next level. But I don't think they planned this. Like she
Yeah.
pulls him aside and is like physically grabs his arm and is just
Mhm.
are you really an ordinary citizen? And he's like, yeah. And she's like, oh, okay, me too, or whatever.
Yeah.
And but this action has like huge ramifications on the game,
Yes.
which like makes so much sense based on what Orbit predicts like the mechanisms to be.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so after this happens, and I don't even think Orbit like really put together that C1 touched him for this right in this moment. Like he didn't
Right.
really think about it, even though he's like almost immediately going to announce this plan where like, hey, we should social distance so nobody touches anybody.
Yeah. Yeah. But like other people see it.
But
And-
like
and
everybody
clock
saw
it. Yeah.
C1 like pull Orbit aside right as the game started. Yeah, so Orbit lays out his plan that like, oh, like the terrorists must have to touch us or something. So if we just don't touch anybody, maybe nobody will get infected. I mean, they would have found out after like the first round that wasn't the case, unless they like 100% went in on the C1 thing. But they don't have to guess on C1 because Kyungrim
Uses her journalistic powers and is like,
she's gonna ultimately decide to investigate Siwon, right? Because
Mhm.
people pointed out the grabbing Orbit aside thing,
Yes.
right? And she's like talking to the luggage lady and the GoPro lady, right? And
Mhm.
she's like, they're saying stuff about Siwon, and then she's like, all right, I'm the journalist. So she's telling a bunch of
Yep.
people she's the journalist, and then after that conversation, she just decides to go
Research C1.
research C1, and
He's a terrorist.
almost coincident. Like this ends up being a total coincidence. Like it's actually super weird. I'm actually like a little confused. She does end up being a terrorist, but we're gonna find out later that like this grabbing Orbit's arm had nothing to do
Yeah.
with the infection, right? So it was actually just like a weird thing that happened. Like I don't know if like C1 did this intentionally for a reason or if it was actually like she was trying to like I don't know. I don't know what she was trying to do here.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's weird.
It is pretty weird.
Like was she trying to figure out like who the other terrorists? I don't know. It's super weird.
Yeah. I don't
because
know.
this action alone is what gets her researched as the first person, right?
Yes. But she does not get assassinated as a by the officer at this point at all.
Yeah, so Kyungrin like comes out and it's basically gonna like go to everybody except for Siwon and be like, I'm the journalist, I just researched Siwon and she's a terrorist.
Yes.
But like, does this information definitely gets to who ends up being the officer, right?
In a later round.
You don't think this gets around to everybody in the first round? Like, do you think the officer chooses not to act and knows the information, or just doesn't find out the
I
information?
think he didn't know. We don't see her tell him. And
okay,
like I would think if he had heard anything about this, the moment that because Kyungrim's about to die, she dies in the middle of the round. I thought all the dying would happen at the end of the round. Nope. The announcer comes up, says this person is dead. This is their role. It revealed she was a researcher. Then as the officer, you got to assume, oh, she was right. I should kill that terrorist she just said was a terrorist. And that doesn't happen. So I don't think he has this information at all.
I guess he doesn't, or he just was too slow. Because like if he kills the C1, the terrorist, like fast enough, it completely changes the game.
Yeah.
And ultimately, like not only does he not kill her first, but he doesn't even kill her in the first round, which is like
he doesn't kill anybody in the first round.
Doesn't kill anybody in the first round, which isn't necessarily bad if he didn't have any idea the terrorist was, but there was like at least something going on that made it so Kyungrim's going around and is like, she's a terrorist, and then at some point there's just an announcement and it's just like Kyungrim is now dead.
Yep.
And so she had to have been shot by somebody in the middle of the round, and then it's revealed to everybody that she's the journalist.
Yes.
So like it's crazy to me that the officer did not hear Kyungrim's information saying she was the the journalist, and then telling everybody that Siwon was a terrorist. And then after, in the middle of the round, Kyungrim gets revealed as the journalist, confirming that she was telling the truth. And then still the officer does not kill Siwon in the first round.
Yeah, like
It's
at this
actually
point,
insane
as
to
an
me.
ordinary citizen, I would be like, did everybody hear who she said was the
Yeah,
terrorist?
what the hell? Like,
Nobody
literally
is
just,
communicating this information
like,
after
if you're an
that.
ordinary citizen and you can't do anything, just like have a public announcement and be like, yo,
Whoever is the
this
officer.
person, like, Kyungrim was saying Siwon is the terrorist. Everybody in this, multiple people in this room will confirm that, right? Like, she was
Yep.
telling everybody, if the officer did not find out this information, like, go kill Siwon right now. But somehow that doesn't happen.
yeah.
Also in the first round, we get revealed who the researchers are. Now, this was also
Yes.
weird. Like, do the researchers know who the other researchers are?
They did not say that as part of the rules, but these two find each other real quick.
They kind of make it seem like the researchers know who each other are.
Mhm.
I get the sense that the idol boy,
Yeah.
he's one of the researchers. I feel like he was like one of the early people to just kind of like start telling people who he was, and then maybe got
The other researcher was like, "Oh, hey, chill out."
the cool math lawyer is like the other researcher. So they
Yeah.
at some point they just like agreed that they believed each other. So they were like, they had like an extra piece of paper with like what they had to do on it, and they were actually like showing it to Siwon, right? They were actually showing it to Siwon,
Yeah.
like, oh, we have to like. So they're sitting on this bench with Siwon, and they're like, okay, so we're the the researchers.
And they're like holding her hand during it, and they're like, "This is what we have to do to
Yeah.
research the stuff." And she's like, "Oh, have you done that yet?" She's like, "I'm doing it to you right now."
Yeah, but this was actually all before all the Siwon is a terrorist stuff got out.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they at least, I don't know what the idol boy did. I think the cool math lawyer Dongju, I think she ended up doing the research with
Yeah.
Siwon, so she
Yes.
wasted it that round. I don't know who the idol boy did it with.
I was under the impression that together they do it to one person, but maybe
Oh.
I'm wrong.
Oh, maybe. I guess that's more fair. I don't know. I don't know if it's too overpowered if two people can do it or not.
Yeah.
feel like
Well,
it's
with the
not. I feel like
terrorists,
with one person,
they
it's
only
so
infect
hard.
one person. Yeah. I don't know that this is
Like
completely
they're
balanced.
two people
properly.
trying to find one person in the entire game,
Yeah.
and then they need 2 rounds. With
Yeah.
I feel like they should be able to do it separately, but I don't know.
We
actually.
never see them do it separately, but that doesn't mean it doesn't happen.
Yeah, it doesn't.
I
It
just
wasn't
don't know.
important to the story because ultimately,
Yeah.
ultimately the researchers fail.
So like these are two big, like from the start, the big reasons that or 3 big reasons that the citizens are not going to do well going forward. We've got the researchers have told a terrorist who they are. The journalist has outed herself and gotten murdered. And the officer has heard none of this and did not shoot a known terrorist. And so,
Yeah,
like,
they are well behind.
round 1 is a disaster for the citizens.
Now it's not over, which is kind of crazy, but
Yeah.
they definitely are way behind where they could have been if
Mhm.
people had played better.
Another thing that happens that goes sort of unnoticed is that Dongjae tells Junbin he's the journalist before Hyogrim dies. And so as soon as she dies and her role is announced, Junbin should have been like, "Oh, Dongjae is sketch." And he does not do that. He seems to just ignore it.
Yeah, there's a couple people that like they see things happen and they're a little like,
They don't do
At least
anything
they-
about it, yeah.
yeah. Now I feel like, who's this? The traveling YouTuber, right?
Yeah.
Junbin? Is that Junbin?
That's Junbin, yeah.
Yeah, Junbin. I feel like he did tell people this, and it was like known information.
But it just like never went anywhere.
Yeah,
And I think he takes a while before he starts talking to people about it.
and it is a little like, I don't know how sketched out I would. Or no, he said he was the researcher. Yeah, pretending to be the researcher is weird.
Oh no, he said he was the journalist. It was
Sorry. When I said researcher, I meant journalist. Yeah,
okay, yeah.
yeah. Dongjae pretending to be the journalist, like that's a weird role to pretend to be.
Yeah.
So I feel like that should have been like a big clue as to who he was. Like, what's the only
Yeah.
role that would pretend to be the journalist? Right? There's only one role that would pretend to be. I guess terrorists could also
There's
pretend to
two.
be journalists.
Yeah. I still like the moment you try to pretend to be a role that there is only one of, that's like risky.
Yeah.
Because you might be talking to the one other person with that role.
Yeah. Yeah, that is weird. Yeah, but basically Dong Jae from the start has like been caught in a lie.
Yeah.
Like clearly he's not an ordinary citizen, right?
Yeah.
So then at the end of the first round, there's an announcement. They reveal the number of infected players. So there's 3 infected players. So that's kind of what's expected, right? So
Yes.
the
And we're
terrorists infected.
we're not told who they are, just that there are 3 infected
Yeah.
players.
So the terrorists infected 1 person, and then
By the end of the round, that person infected 2 other people.
the 2 people next to them in the
naturally,
circle. Yeah, so that makes sense. That's what was expected. Now, some people were like shocked that the terrorists infected people in the first turn, but it's like, why would you wait? Why would you wait for the terrorists? So they're trying to figure out basically like, okay, who was infected first, right?
Yeah, and Orbit says that he figures the terrorists are going to pick the person who are the furthest away from him, and he's the furthest away from Siwon. And I don't know if he did not hear that she was a terrorist already or what, but he links it back to the arm linking thing.
Yeah.
And so he's like, I think that's when I got infected. I'll go do the test and see if I'm infected. And then if I am, then she's totally a terrorist. Meanwhile, like, we already know she's a terrorist, but nobody has listened to this information.
It's not 100% because he could be like next to the person who was first infected.
Yeah.
But it's like there's so much evidence pointing to C1 being a terrorist, like including the journalist just saying that they are a terrorist. But this is actually pretty smart. Like, say he didn't even know. Like, say the journalist didn't already reveal who the terrorist was. Like, I feel like this is actually pretty.
Yeah, this is
intuitive
decent logic. It's just I'm frustrated that it took this to get action to happen. You know.
But imagine like that they didn't know who the terrorist was, but he's like putting together like, oh, this person like touched my arm in a weird way, and I'm like across the circle from them.
Yeah.
Like, I think it's actually
the logic
smart.
is sound. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Now, is there any reason, like, I was wondering, like, could a terrorist like infect themselves to start the game to throw people off? But I guess they would be like cured after this second
But then they could say they have the antibodies.
Yeah, they could, yeah.
And then they could waste the researcher's turn. Maybe that's a good move.
I guess less people die as fast, so like they might get more rounds out of it. I don't know, you'd have to do the math on that.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah, so I haven't thought about that, but Orbit's right. Like the go-to thought process of a terrorist, like if you're just like, okay, who do I infect? You just like infect the person on the opposite side of the circle, and then like everybody else will die like before you do, basically.
Yeah.
As fast as possible, basically, from the virus at least.
Now that is again like assuming a grouping of terrorists on one side of the circle, or who they've decided the opposite side should come from. You know, because there's 2 terrorists, it gets a little wonky, but
yeah,
it worked out.
But he knows he's on the opposite side of somebody that has been acting like a terrorist, basically.
And I don't know if like it might not entirely be that is the reason they picked him. It might also be because he is a person who is gathering people around and trying to have a plan, and might be pretty effective at figuring out what's going on.
Oh,
and so it's just good to get rid of him anyway.
Yeah, it worked out, and it made sense to do it. And then Dong Jae, the perfect student, who already got caught in a lie, he's like trying to convince people that he's trying to say that it doesn't make sense for the terrorists to have killed the journalist,
which is silly.
I tried to follow what his argument was. I don't think it made any sense, right?
It didn't. He was just strictly trying to defend her because, I mean, we
find out later.
Now. Yeah, like he is in an alliance with her.
Yeah, and he ends up being in a role where like he doesn't give a shit.
Yeah, he's the fanatic. So like,
he ends up being the fanatic, which makes sense for the lies he's telling. But like,
yeah,
I'm curious what he would have done if he was not the fanatic, right?
Well, would he have
worked with her in a different way?
He doesn't like necessarily try to get himself killed. Like he's purposely sort of skipping out on.
No, he's definitely trying to get himself killed, but he's doing it the right way. He's like acting suspicious as hell.
Well, I guess Here's the problem. Looking like the fanatic and also trying to take the heat away from actual terrorists kind of look the same.
Yeah, but he's
So
doing
it seems
that, right?
like, yeah, but it seems like he is foregoing actually getting the pieces he could get for his role to help her out in the long run. Like it looks like he's committing to the alliance. But I guess you could see it both ways. Like he's just also failing to die. But I would think if he was just trying to die right now, would he waste his time defending her here? Because I guess a terrorist would defend her here if she was also a terrorist, but if she was not a terrorist, he would want her to die. So does it look like the most suspicious behavior? I don't know.
I mean, if I say I was the officer in this game and
Uh-huh.
I was privy to the most common information,
Yeah.
I would have killed C1 in round 1 and killed Dongjae in round 2, 100%. Which means Dongjae
Yeah.
basically played it perfectly. Like that's how I think of it. It's kind of
Okay.
crazy to me that it made it this far.
But still, like that's not him maximizing his points. I think he spends a lot of time not being the worst at this game in a way that would get him shot. You know what I mean? Like I think he is playing in a way that is fairly committed to the alliance more than his own
Okay.
peace getting.
Yeah, I mean, arguing for the like terrorists to not get killed. I mean, it does line up with him, like because he doesn't want bullets to be wasted, not on him. So, like, he might as well do it. I don't know. Like, that's what I'm like. Ultimately, like, it's going to appear as if he and Siwon were like in an alliance, but I'm just not 100% convinced. Now, you've watched more of the show, so you might know, but I'm not 100% convinced that like he would have worked with her regardless of what roles they got. I think it just kind of like worked out where he got a role that could work with her very easily.
Yeah, I'm gonna say he's committed to the alliance.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
From just this game, it is not clear.
Well, it is also hard to tell in the future because of the way things pan out. It does largely become some people who are kind of in an alliance, and then everybody else because Orbit is doing his trying to save everybody situation. And the people who win this game are the people who have the most coins, and therefore everybody's just sort of default against them. So I guess it is kind of hard to tell if he would have stuck with that alliance going forward, or is he sort of pushed in that box because of circumstance. But there is a point in here where he convinces the officer to kill somebody else where he could have been doing work to convince them to kill himself. So I do think he's still like in it to work this alliance.
I see what you're saying. Yeah, he ends up like maximizing the alliance effectiveness. But I'm also wondering like, okay, if he wanted to get killed, what do you say? Now, I still question it, but let's wait till we get it, and then we can talk more about Dongjae at the end. Dongju, the cool math lawyer, is going to try to, in the second round, is going to hold hands with the Junbin, the traveling YouTuber.
Yes.
But she does it this time in a way where, like, he doesn't realize what's happening. Yeah. It's just, and I was actually really impressed by this because, like, he had no reaction to her touching him.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like physical contact is like something you would notice in Korea. I don't know. I mean, this isn't a dating show, so it's different, but
yeah, that's true.
But she was just like so natural at it that I was I was like, okay, like I don't know. I already liked her, so I guess I'm biased, but I was like impressed by being able to do something so subtly like that.
Yeah.
Ultimately, it doesn't matter for the researchers, but I was still impressed by that move.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and then Junbin thinks Guillaume must be the officer because
and then he's just very confused, and that's why he didn't kill the terrorist.
This is also such a good read, actually. Like I would be in this game like as one of the citizens and being like, how is this person how is the officer not killed this person yet? And like I would either assume like, okay, the officer is just working with the terrorists, or the officer just does not understand the rules or doesn't understand like the strategy of the game.
Yeah. And I think so much of the reason they pick him is because he's the foreigner who's, Korean is not his native language. And he is also playing that up to look confused.
Well, he's not playing up that he's like, can't speak Korean that well. Or, I mean, maybe
but that he's confused about I think that's just like an underlying part of it. And he's just acting like, oh yeah, I just don't understand the rules. Like, Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that him being a foreigner is why he gets away with the quote unquote not understanding the rules so easily, you know?
Yeah, being confused is probably like if you're ever gonna play like one round of like Mafia or like Secret Hitler or any of these kind of
Hmm.
games, like if you're playing with like a new group of people, play acting like you're confused is probably the best strategy
Yeah.
to play. Like I've used it so many times to win like the first round.
Yeah.
But the problem with the strategy going forward though is that like it never works again.
Oh, yeah,
Like
absolutely.
like you might actually be confused about what the rules are later in another game, and people will just be like, "Nah, you're the fucking terrorist," and then you just like get targeted for like things you did in the past, but they like
Yeah, absolutely.
like, and maybe you deserve that, maybe you don't, but like I'll be interested to see how people play with Guillaume going forward because he basically just plays this like I don't understand what's going on dumb guy card for this
Hmm.
whole first game, and it works so well because of the like all the events that happen.
Yep.
But yeah, so Junbin thinks that Guillaume is the officer, and he's just fucking confused and doesn't like didn't know that the the journalist already knows that Seiwon was a terrorist, so he's
Yeah,
like
yeah.
going to him and being like, "You have to kill like Seiwon. You're the officer, right?" And he's like Guillaume's like he's acting confused in a way that like makes sense, like because it's like you're confused about whether or not you should be admitting to somebody that you're the officer.
Hmm.
So like I understand like reading him like how he does like I don't know how intentional he is, but he does kind of like do a good job of like pretending to be the officer by like not saying anything and just acting
Yeah,
confused.
yeah.
It's really weird.
And then like the perfect sequence of events happen to help him maintain this cover, which is like so Orbit does his test to find out that he is in fact infected. Comes out and tells everybody that, C1 must have infected him when she held his arm, and she goes like, "Oh, no. Look, I'll show you that doesn't mean anything," and links arms with Sokjin, who like freaks the fuck out and leaves, and then like 2 seconds later C1's dead. So I'm like, "Oh, Sokjin's the officer." But this is also shortly after Junbin tells Yami to go kill Siwon, so he's like, "Oh yeah, he did it. Good job." And so he continues to be convinced that he's the officer, just because it all lines up time wise.
Did you actually 100% know Sokjin was the officer because of that?
Oh yeah, because she linked arms with him. He went, "What the fuck?" Ran away. Like a minute later, she's dead. Like I was like, "Oh,
Oh,
he went to do whatever he had to do to kill her," and I was assuming it was like the journalist where he just had to call in and be like, "Yeah, kill her," or
oh, you
whatever.
thought it would be like that. Okay. I didn't really like make any assumptions about how people do anything cuz like we're going to find out that like the terrorists have to kill people by like pointing finger guns at them like right next to them, which is
Yeah, for
it's
like
kind of
however many
weird.
seconds. Like it is an observable act. It is very risky.
It's kind of like weird that the officer's shooting mechanic wasn't the same, but I guess like thematically like the officer's just like putting out a hit on somebody or
Yeah,
something.
he has to like go and flip a book with their number on it upside down in a room
Yeah,
somewhere.
it's like a secret like yeah, there's like a shelf with numbered books and he has to like flip them over to mean he's shooting somebody.
Yeah.
But I would not have like assumed that that was the case, especially if I was just like an ordinary citizen and didn't know any of the mechanics on how people do
Oh
anything.
yeah, but from like the god tier
Oh yeah, I
watching
guess
of
since
the
you
show,
know,
I was
yeah.
like, yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, he's the officer.
Yeah, he does like immediately disappear and then so you think there's like no time lapse between like okay, the officer shoots somebody and then the show just immediately announces.
In later rounds, when we are aware of what the mechanic is, and they're just all in the room, and he's like, "I'm the officer. I gotta flip a book." He flips the book, and they immediately tell. Like the
Okay.
announcement immediately comes on. So I'm just assuming that is true the rest of the time.
I guess the show has to do that because it's like they don't want the dead person to like do anything after
Yeah.
they should be dead, but it also kind of because of how he has to go kill somebody, it like kind of gives him away.
They might actually delay a bit more if the terrorist is shooting someone because they're literally standing next to them doing finger guns at them.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
not sure.
I don't know. Yeah, but again, like if they're supposed to be dead, they shouldn't be doing anything. Like if they're a
Yeah,
researcher, you don't
exactly.
want them to. Yeah. Although I guess the show could just be like, okay, anything they did after this doesn't count anymore, or something like that.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. But the other researcher knew that they did whatever, so then would assume that the person they did science with didn't have the. That would be too
Yeah,
messy,
it would
I
be
think.
weird. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, the officer kills Siwon, and then what else
At
happens
this
later in this
point,
round?
Orbit is so pleased with himself
Yeah.
that he's just like, well, this is going to be a really boring pilot. I guess they shouldn't have invited a science guy. And he's just like, well, the game involves science. It couldn't be helped. Sorry, I ruined it for everyone. Like, he is so confident that they are about to win.
Junbin is the same way too,
ridiculous.
because he feels like Junbin also feels like he solved it.
Oh yeah, because he thought he told the officer to go kill the terrorist. Yeah, absolutely.
So now he's just like, oh, now Guillaume just has to go kill Dongjae, which again makes sense.
Yeah.
And we win, and then that's it. It doesn't matter.
And so yeah, at this point, everybody does become like really sure that Dongjae is the second terrorist.
So yeah, he's doing a great job.
Yeah, but if he was just trying to get killed, he would let himself get killed in the next round, and it would have been done for him.
Well, I guess he could have just gone silent and let them do it, but that would also like kind of be suspicious. You know what I mean? Like, he should always be fighting that somebody else is the terrorist up until the point that he dies, right?
He does kind of like at the end of this round, he does kind of behave like he's just like, oh, there's no way around it. You're not listening to me. So what am I going to do? Like, that is a way he could continue to play it. But then
I guess so, yeah.
In the third round, he like turns it around and starts blaming someone and gets them killed instead. Like, he would have gotten, I think, 2 pieces if he got killed in the third round, and he gives up on that for the sake of the alliance. So that's why I'm convinced.
Okay. Like, I think if I'm him, I just let them waste a bullet on me, and ultimately, like, that should just win the game, regardless of if the game immediately ends when I get killed. You know what I mean? That's why I was like not convinced he was like not trying to get killed. I don't know.
Honestly, like, I don't know that his behavior right now matters, because like round 1 was so bad for the civilians, even though they didn't realize it. Because at this point, Cool Lawyer is infected, right? And she's a researcher. And at the end of this round, the Sinquan, the 17 boy, or the idol guy, gets killed. He gets shot by the second terrorist. And so therefore your researchers are about, one of them's dead and the other one's about to be dead, and so there's no chance to make a cure.
Yeah. At the end of round 2, Orbit dies from the virus as expected.
Yes.
So that he was right. He did get everything right up until this point. And he was an ordinary citizen. That gets revealed. And then there's currently 4 people infected. So none of the 2 people next to Orbit had the antibodies.
Yes.
Now that 4 people are infected. Okay. So it is narrowing down who could have the antibodies.
Well, one of those people next to him was a researcher. So they only really theoretically eliminated one person as an antibody person. Not that anybody knows this except for the researcher.
I'm just saying it, like, the game mechanic is kind of eliminating the people that you could.
That's true.
So I guess if you're the researcher, you want to, like, maybe you want to handshake people that are like on the, well, if you can figure out where the center or the patient 0 is, whoever was infected first, like, you want to like shake hands with people that are on like the opposite side of the circle from them, at least a little bit.
Do you, or do
maybe
you
not?
really
Or do you
need to?
shake,
I think you want to.
You have to go to people
shake
near
the them. Just in case. Well, I guess because they wouldn't die.
I guess
it really
if
just
you know
depends on
you're
where
gonna die,
you are
know
on
you're
the
gonna-
circle. Yeah.
If you know you're gonna die in like 2 rounds, you might as well, if at least shake hands with somebody that's not gonna die in 2 rounds. I guess is the only thing you could do.
Yeah.
Whatever. The cool math lawyer realizes that there's no way they can possibly do a cure anymore because the one researcher is dead and she's gonna die in 1 round, just like you said.
Yeah.
So the citizens can only win by killing the terrorists now. So it's all up to the officer.
Yes.
Which they think is Guillaume. So everyone's like talking to Guillaume and being like, they're like debating, like, okay, who do we think the last terrorist is, basically.
But then he admits to killing the researcher.
Does that happen now? There's like a
happens
weird sequence of events here. Okay, so first what happens is the new person, that the perfect student who we know is the fanatic, Dongjae, he throws out that the GoPro woman is the terrorist.
Yeah.
Now, there's like nothing to back this other than that he's just like, she's been quiet. Like, right?
And it's like, yeah, she's an ordinary citizen. She has 0 things
Yeah, like,
to do in this game.
Like, Now, if I was a terrorist, would be my play probably would be to be quiet until like something was happening that would make me
Yeah.
have to do something. But I would only be doing that because it's like that's kind of what I would probably do if I was an ordinary citizen because there's like
Yeah.
nothing I could do. Again, like unless that thing came up where like I logically figured out like this person has to be a terrorist and like the officer's not doing anything, then I would like get up and do something, you know? And honestly, like even if I was a terrorist, I might just say that because I like if my partner is just like I might as well just like do the thing that the terrorist would never do.
Yeah.
Because like I would have just assumed that like okay they're dead in this round. I might as well just be the one that like really pushes for them to die.
Mm-hmm.
So Dong Jae's throwing out the GoPro woman as this new target, which is just like it's kind of out of nowhere basically. So again, you're just being sketchy.
Yeah.
But then somehow people get confused, and this is where I think people just didn't understand the rules like actually. So I forget who was talking. Was it like the GoPro woman and the pup like the doctor woman? Human?
Human.
They were talking and they were like
Maybe.
they're trying to like figure out like if the terrorists have any bullets left. Oh, also yeah, the one researcher was like shot, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think it was Human who actually saw Guillaume do finger guns, and
well,
was
we don't
like,
find this out till later, yeah.
Yeah. But she didn't say anything right away, but then like is sort of following up in this round now, being like, "Hey, did you kill him?" And he's like, "Yes, I killed him as the officer." But like,
I guess she doesn't understand the mechanic.
but then like,
Okay,
so
I see,
nobody
okay.
actually
That kinda makes
outwardly
sense.
says this, but like a terrorist was murdered by the officer last round. The officer only gets to shoot one person per round. So if
Yeah.
he killed this person, it was not as an officer.
Yeah, they
And
don't
so-
put together that like
Yeah.
2 bullets were shot in the same. I mean, like, is it possible that the officer killed the journalist by accident in the first round? Yes, but like, there's so much evidence, and then also
Yeah.
like, yeah, why would the terrorist have killed the terrorist in the second round?
Yeah,
so it doesn't
exactly.
make any sense.
But like everybody's so like he's so good at acting confused, and everybody's so ready to accept that he is in fact confused that they are all now confused.
Yeah, but they just shouldn't be, and this is where
Yeah.
they like ultimately like they still probably should have won this game, but somehow like a few people get confused about how like the bullets of the terrorists work, and then
I think the biggest problem is this conversation is not happening near the officer. So the officer doesn't hear any of this.
well, but then the officer comes in the room, like they're the 4th person to get added to this conversation, and they basically are like, "Oh yeah, he says he's the officer and he's the one that shot the idol boy." Like the officer hears this information. Like now he has to
Yeah.
like believe it, but he's pretty much there for the conversation.
Yeah, but then like Dong Jae comes in and is like, "No, I'm pretty sure he's the fanatic. Look how suspicious he's acting." And manages to turn this whole thing onto GoPro.
Yeah. But at this point, Dong Jae knows that the officer is about to kill the other terrorist. So he's fully incentivized to convince him that he's not the terrorist, right?
Yeah.
Otherwise, he's not going to win. So,
But the reason
Yeah.
I still believe him is
It's
he
actually
already,
crazy.
before
actually
this
crazy.
shit started happening, he was building the
Yeah, that's what he
let's
did
kill
do.
Yanwu instead.
yeah. Now, his logic for killing Yang Wu makes no sense.
But it works, and it's, yeah.
What we find out in the big reveal is that Dong Jae did immediately start talking to the officer, the sexy smart man, after he put together that he was the officer for the same reason that you did, where he like left the room and then she died, and he was like the
Yeah.
only one not there. So he was like, okay, he must be the officer. So he then like almost exclusively started to like only talk to him about strategy in a way that I just
Yeah.
think the officer like decided that like, oh, Dong Jae is somebody that I want to work with,
Yeah.
and like kind of put aside the fact like the facts of the game. And,
Oh,
like, didn't-
really?
like,
Hmm.
I if you're the officer in this scenario, so what ultimately happens is that like the officer does go ahead and kill the GoPro woman. And that
Yeah.
is just there's nothing about anything that was going on in the game unless he somehow was not being included in like the group conversations. There's nothing about the game that should have made him do that.
I think that
because
the key is that he somehow misses that Gyome admitted to killing the researcher. Like, because he wasn't there for that part of that
no,
conversation.
it is definitely said to him.
Is it?
Yeah. So the state of the game is there's two quote unquote enemies if you're the officer. There's a terrorist and then there's somebody who's pretending to be a terrorist, right? And
Yeah.
there's so much information in the game at this point that there are two people acting suspiciously, which
Yeah.
means between the two of them, one of them is the terrorist and one is the fanatic.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, determining which one is which is difficult, I think. Now, I think I would have killed Guillaume before I killed the other guy
Bong Jae?
because the
Yeah.
whole like pretending to be the journalist thing is weird if you were the terrorist, I think.
Okay.
It makes a lot more sense if you were the fanatic. Now, if he, I don't know if he had all that information, but like, it really just does not make sense that he wouldn't kill one of the two of them. And like, I think it got to like, he just liked Dunjay, honestly. Like, that's the only thing. Like, now it's good on Dunjay for making him feel so comfortable with him that he was
Yeah.
like, oh, I like this guy. He's not lying to me. But it makes no sense that he was able to convince him. Like, there was no logical reason. He was just like, this person's been quiet. You should probably just kill them.
Yeah. It was definitely like, this kid's a smart kid. I thought you meant that he decided in that moment, oh, I'll just go along with what this guy says so I can like team up with him long term.
Oh no.
Which I did not think was the case.
But no, like he wants to be able to team up with him, so he worked with him because he thought he could trust him, but like didn't factor. Like he didn't. He almost ignored the logic of the game and went along with the person he disliked. Is kind of how I saw
but
it.
not like in a purposeful way. But I agree.
In like I'm not good at this game kind of way. Is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, the sexy smart man not looking so smart, basically, is what I'm saying.
It does better in later episodes.
Yeah, so they killed a GoPro woman, and she's just an ordinary citizen.
But of course, like,
and the game is
there's
still
a thing
not
about
over.
this show that is that every single episode is a massive fucking cliffhanger.
Oh
and
yeah.
So they end on when she dies, but they do not reveal who she is. So that is a theme of every episode. It is kind of frustrating. It is why I watched so many in a row.
Yeah. So yeah, now we're into episode 2. Yeah, Seokjin, we get revealed, is the officer. That's like he ends up telling everybody he's the officer, right?
Yeah.
Before he kills the GoPro woman, I think.
Yeah, and they all watch it, like they're all in the room with the books, and he's like, "This is how I'm gonna kill her."
Because again, I think he realizes. This is why I'm kind of confused. Like, I think he's revealing himself because he realizes the terrorist already used the bullets, right?
Yeah.
So again, like him finding out that Guillaume is pretending to be the officer and he's admitting that he's the one that killed. Again, this is something that the fanatic would also do, but it's just crazy that he's.
Oh, you know the key piece of information he's missing?
Okay.
What he's missing is that I think it was Yumin saw Gyumi do the finger guns, like right before she died. Or he died. Whoever he killed. Like if he had that information, like that should have 100% been like, okay, he's not the fanatic, he's definitely the terrorist.
Yeah, for sure. But again, that information is not necessary to figure this out. Like two people are being super sketchy, and there's only 2 people that would be sketchy. So picking a third person is just totally wrong.
Yeah, but it would help him like be like, I don't know.
Again, more information is better, but all the information's there, you know?
but I think like his like natural tendency to want to like Dongjae was getting in the way of him viewing Dongjae as sketchy. So it's to him, there's only one sketchy person, and maybe this mystery other sketchy person that's being offered up to him just because
he's trusting the word. He's trusting the word of the sketchy person,
which makes him seem unsketchy to him. Yeah.
No, but the sketchy person is not suggesting that he kill the other
sketchy person. Yeah.
So which is like extra sketchy that they're not suggesting that, right?
But if you don't think the sketchy person is sketchy, and you think the other sketchy person might be the fake sketchy person, then I can sort of see how he got to this bad logic.
No, it's just bad. He's like more than anybody else in the game. On top of not killing anybody in the first round, the officer, I think, is most to blame for what ultimately happens. Because there was, There was plenty of other people in the game where if they were the officer, the citizens would have won.
Yeah. And I don't know why he was so frequently not where the information was happening. Like how he did not know in the first round who the terrorist was. I'm pretty surprised.
I honestly feel like he must have found out, but like was just too like didn't want to be like trigger happy and like I don't know. I feel like he overthought it or something and didn't want to like give himself away or like he was still like there was a little bit of doubt and he just didn't want to like kill the wrong person and he decided like I'll just save it for a round and then ultimately it was like ultimately like still should have won even though he didn't kill anybody in the first round. So like it wasn't necessarily terrible to not kill somebody in the first round, but then he just has a total misread later. Yeah, so the GoPro woman is an ordinary citizen. And then he just takes a full 180 on Dong Jae after that, basically. Everybody's mad at Dong Jae because it was pretty much only his idea.
Yeah.
Only one person. He chose to believe one person out of all the people, which is very weird, again, that he chose to do that. like even if everybody's not a citizen, like the majority of people are citizens and they're telling you like don't kill this person if you're the officer and you still do it. Like it's just a terrible read. Now everybody's mad at Dong Jae and again it like kind of gets I do think this is a tough coin flip. Now I feel like I would have shot like knowing everything I saw leading up to this, I would have shot Guillaume before I would have shot Dong Jae, but I could see how it's like more of kind of a coin flip scenario. But everybody I think gets a little emotional about it, and they're like, they're like specifically mad at Dong Jae about the last round, so they're like, fuck this guy, just kill him.
Yeah.
Some people do argue that he must be the fanatic, but then Seokjin takes a full 180 and decides that Dong Jae is the terrorist and kills him. And this is basically the last move of the game because it's either the Seokjin is going to die to the virus after this round.
Yeah.
Last chance they have to kill the terrorist. The other thing in the previous round is by the time he realizes that he should probably kill Guillaume, there's only like 5 minutes to decide, and then Dong Jae gets in his ear. But here he had like 30 full minutes to just make this decision.
But it was a big emotional decision, is what fucked him over. Yeah.
But like if the key information is like Dong Jae pretended to be the journalist, and that's just a weird move if you're the terrorist. And I maybe
I don't think Seokjin knew that though.
Yeah, but like maybe this is more on Junbin then.
Yeah.
To not re-bring up this information at the last second, but like maybe Junbin just has to be like put it together himself and be like, this guy told me he was the journalist. Like, why would he do that if he was the terrorist? But yeah, so they get it wrong again. He had 2 rounds to get this right, and he got it wrong. And the big reveal is that Dong Jae is the fanatic, and now the citizens have lost. And the officer, and the officer
except they do like still have to sit around through the next couple rounds. Like,
do you think they actually sat there for 30 minutes?
No, they 100. It is more than 30 minutes. They had to go to like round 7 before.
Did they?
The like last citizen would die. Yeah.
I don't think so because they were like dead people, so like the virus was like jumping over the dead people. You know what I mean?
No, I think they even said like it took until round 7 until the last citizen died. Yeah. Like.
Okay.
Now maybe they did an abbreviated version of the rounds, but like I don't know. They made it seem like they made them sit around and wait.
They also did manage to develop the cure in the round where it didn't matter.
They did the first stage of it. They would have had to.
Yeah. Well, yeah. They did the first. Yeah. Like the luggage lady.
Yeah. Haesung had the antibodies, but at that point the researchers were dead and there's nothing to do about it. Yeah. And so this is when we get this big like 6 hours earlier flashback to Dong Jae and Jiwon making an alliance.
So they actually agreed to work together. I think they did show this in the very beginning when they like were just sitting on the couches before they played the main match.
Yeah.
See, again, this is why I was kind of like, was this an agreement to alliance? And it just kind of worked out. Like, I don't feel like they fully agreed to be an alliance. They were just kind of talking about how like, oh yeah, it would be, maybe we should work together. But it wasn't like a full on.
No, I thought they were because they were like, nobody's around looking at us right now. Like, if we don't talk outside of this, nobody's gonna suspect us ever at all. Like, let's be in an alliance.
The clip that I don't remember seeing that I wish we would see if it was there is that like I don't recall like during the main match Siwon having any discussion with Dongjae, whereas like okay, they did tell each other who each other were, but they didn't
Mm-hmm.
actually talk about how to make each other win. And it seemed like almost like Dongjae just took it upon himself to quote unquote like make them both win, but also all his actions
I think
were helpful for
that's
him too. So it was hard for me to tell if he was
I think that might just be an edit.
but like why
Especially
wouldn't you
because,
show them strategizing if they did?
well, I think they're like trying to get it through this kind of quick. And also, like, I think he becomes a slightly bigger character in the next couple episodes than she does.
That's absolutely what it felt like in episode 1. Was that like he did do bulk of the work. Now it was good on her to kill somebody before she got killed. That was actually pretty big.
Mm-hmm.
But again, she only found out that because the journalist told Dongjae.
Yeah, yeah. And then he came and
Dongjae
told
told
her,
her, yeah, yeah. So Dongjae did like basically carried the team in terms of like getting the information and everything.
yeah. But I think they kind of talked about a bit of what to do. And
I don't know. I don't remember seeing that.
well, I just don't think they showed it because they want to make him out to be the big strategic guy here because in the next couple games, he kind of is the bigger player.
Okay.
I think is a story they are trying to tell about him.
Because Dongjae he gets killed and then basically the game's over, but he still has to go sit in the dead person area in the dealer's room.
Mm-hmm.
And as soon as he gets in, he says to C1 like, "Oh, I kept up my part of the deal."
Yeah. Which I think the
But
deal was like keep
C1 didn't react in a way that was like, "Oh yeah, we did it." She was kind of like, "Oh, we had a deal." Like that's kind of how I saw it as. I don't know.
well, because when they first said they were gonna like be an alliance, they were talking about how they could be in such a sneaky alliance because like if they just didn't talk after that moment, no one would ever see it coming. And so he comes in front of all these people and is like, "Hey, we did it." And I think she's just like, "Why are you telling people we did it?"
No, that's what you think.
Yeah.
My what I'm wondering is just I get the vibe that like let's say C1 had a role where she didn't get any pieces at the end.
Uh-huh.
Like I don't feel like Dong Jae would have like walked in there been like we did it. I feel like he would have just been like wouldn't have said anything and just not shared any of the pieces. That's how I
Mm.
felt about it all. So it just like she won more pieces than him, so he brought up the fact that they were working together afterwards. Is how I felt.
I guess you could see it that way, but I don't think it
Okay,
could happen.
I get Dong Jae villain vibes. Honestly, that's the vibe I got. Not like actually he's a bad guy, but
Yeah,
like
yeah,
he's
yeah.
the villain character or whatever.
And I think in a lot of ways, like other players on the show paint him that way going forward.
Deservedly
But
so. I think he deserves it. All right, what else was in this flashback?
oh, we learned that the way they infect people is like by putting up the number of the person in a mirror. So like
Yeah.
the whole arm thing was nothing.
Yeah, and Guillaume did it. It wasn't even Siwon.
Yeah,
That was weird.
Yeah.
I kind of like that was just like such a weird coincidence, I guess.
absolutely. Yeah.
That Orbit like assumed that would be the thing, and then she already had done it.
They had also already picked him.
She
Yeah.
like actually happened to be a terrorist. I don't know what she was trying to do in that moment, other than just like actually confirm that he was. I don't know. Maybe she's trying
Yeah.
to act. She was trying to act like an ordinary citizen by asking him if he was an ordinary citizen. I don't know. It was weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then it was Yumin we see actually saw she's the doctor, right?
Yeah.
She actually
yeah.
saw Guillaume finger gun the idol boy,
Mhm.
but basically doesn't tell anybody.
Yeah, that was another big communication.
That is
breakdown.
like the most frustrating thing to me. Like like we're gonna find out basically like so the two people with the most pieces have to decide who goes to prison because there's a bunch of people tied with one.
yeah.
Like that shit would have. I mean, like again, she wasn't on my team, so maybe I wouldn't be mad at her. But like when you play these kind of games with people, and then like somebody who should be like working with you, like just doesn't play the game, like and like it's just so frustrating. So like I actually
Yeah.
wasn't mad that Yumi's gonna be selected to go to jail because basically she just
But I think nobody knows that she saw that and didn't say anything though at the time that
Oh, is
this
that
is getting
true?
picked. Yeah, I don't think anybody knows that.
Unless she admitted it. I think she does tell people later. I don't know if she told the people that broke the tie, but
Yeah, I don't
she
think she
does
told the
tell
people who broke
people.
the tie.
Okay.
So yeah, at the end of this, we've got Siwon and Gyeom May. No, Gyeom. I can't do this name. They each get 4 pieces, and then Dongjae gets one. And then, like, even though Dongjae is not in the top people who have the most pieces because he was involved in this alliance from the beginning, he kind of like helps, will suggest to them who they should pick to go to jail. And he offers up Yeonwoo, who is GoPro, Dongju, who is cool lawyer, and Yumin, who the finger gun thing. Um, but he doesn't know about the finger gun thing. And I don't know. These are all women. 2 of them were ordinary citizens who didn't have any power, so they couldn't do anything. He basically says that, we should get rid of the dead weight before this prize match. And like Dongju was out there doing science, research and stuff. Like there was no way she was not doing her part in this game. And I just got a little annoyed. It's like, why are you trying to get rid of all the
Yeah.
women for no legitimate reason right now, dude? What's
Yeah.
going on?
So his idea that he pushes, which makes sense, is if people are going to be bad at these games, let's get rid of them so they don't like weigh us down in the prize matches.
Yeah, but none of these women have a reason that he knows about to say that they were bad at a game. Like, if anything, if I were going this way, I would say everybody's favorite auntie. She just told everybody she was a reporter or a journalist right away, and that was a real bad move. Like that's a bad move that happened in the game that everybody knew about.
Yeah,
you know?
I think that is fair. I mean, I don't know if he doesn't know about Yumin's mistake with the finger guns, but ultimately, like, Yumin is probably the best person to put in, so I don't really mind that
Yeah, I just don't think
suggestion.
that he knows about the finger guns.
The GoPro thing makes sense in terms of like if he actually like threw her out as a terrorist because he thought she wasn't doing anything, and that, but like, it's like consistent with how he's
But
perceived
it's like
her, I guess.
legit,
But
like
then,
she had nothing she could do in this game, Like she had zero powers. She was there to shake hands and hopefully
yeah, I
have
don't know like what
antibodies.
the other ordinary I mean, like, out of all the other ordinary citizens, was anybody doing anything? I don't know. I mean, some ordinary citizens were doing things like Orbit or whatever. But Dongju, the cool math lawyer, like that makes no sense. Like she
Yeah.
was definitely doing stuff. The other person who probably should go in is Jubin, the traveling YouTuber, and he even admits like,
Yeah.
I really sucked at this game. I should probably be the one going to jail.
And like
He doesn't offer himself up, but he says it in a confessional.
that's something that Dongjae should have known about because he observed him sucking because he lied to him about being
that
a
is true.
researcher and then immediately the researcher got revealed.
That's
And
100% true.
yeah. So like why is he not offering him up?
Yeah,
know?
that doesn't make
So-
sense.
I'm a little annoyed in that front.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense. His choices don't make sense.
Although, wait, does he? Yeah, he should also be tied amongst the people who don't have coins. Yeah. So
yeah, no, everybody's
he's an
available,
option, yeah.
except for Dongjae,
The 3
and
of them,
2
yeah.
terrorists. Yeah, so yeah, that doesn't make any sense. Thankfully, I don't think the terrorists really take what he says into thought too much.
Well,
I think they go off their own because I think Siwon, I think she might have known about the finger gun thing, right?
well, but she was dead. She
She was dead, but this happened when they got back in the room. I think she was talking about how, oh, I did see Guillaume do the finger gun thing. Like, it makes sense now that he was the terrorist. I think people found out about it. I don't know. I think specifically that's why she chooses Yumin. I don't think necessarily she was listening to Dongjae.
Mhm.
So
Okay.
Yumin is the first one selected, and then Guillaume just doesn't do what Dongjae suggested at all, and he goes with Kyungrim, everybody's
Yeah.
auntie, which is also fair because she
Yeah.
kind of
She
like-
just trusted everybody immediately, got herself killed, and she was an important
Yeah.
role that would have been helpful.
Now I
Yeah.
was kind of thinking like, okay, if you're the journalist, you research somebody, like say she didn't tell anybody before she researched somebody and then just independently found out that C1 was the terrorist, like what is
Mhm.
the play after that? Like, do you just sit on that information? Or like, I almost kind of think, I don't know, like maybe you sacrifice yourself and just like, but you have to be like, whoever the officer, like I am the journalist, whoever the officer is, kill C1.
Yeah, you have to really commit if that's what you're going to do. Otherwise, you have to sit back and kind of wait for other people to fuck up and like reveal who they are a little bit more.
Because honestly, like Siwon kind of did the thing that you would almost want her to do, which is kill you after you make that announcement to everybody, and that
Yeah.
will only prove that you were telling the truth.
Not necessarily, because if she announces that she is the journalist, regardless of if she is saying the truth or not, like
But why would the
as
journalist
as a
lie?
well, yeah, but I mean, even if like as a terrorist, she would want her dead regardless. So but I guess then her thing is revealed, so it does kind of confirm that she was true. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, that's
I
what I'm
just
saying.
yeah, you're right.
Like if you're the journalist, you almost want to make the announcement and then get killed by a terrorist, and it proves that you were telling the truth about who the terrorist was. And then you just hope that everybody else can figure out the rest of the game for you. Ideally, you would like people would react so fast. I mean, in a perfect world, like they would just believe you, and the officer would kill her before she even were able to
Yeah.
kill you
But
back.
you gotta make sure that whoever the officer is, they hear it. You know, like you have
Yeah.
to really commit to being open about it.
She either had to like keep it closer to the chest or be like make sure that whoever the officer is just knows that this is true.
Yeah.
And honestly, maybe she did tell everybody, and I still think like there's a chance that Sukjin just like got a little timid about using a bullet in the first round, honestly. But I don't know. But ultimately, she's gonna because of that. Guillaume at least thinks that she played poorly. So
Yeah.
Guillaume and Yumin are gonna go to prison.
Straight to jail.
All right. Describe the jail to me, Sarah. This is
Okay,
great.
okay. So everybody is gathered up at the side of the arena, and like this thing opens up and you see like a cave, like a very small little cave with a bunch of bars, and they like send them into this room, close the door behind them, and then everybody else leaves. And as far as you see as a viewer right now, they're in a very teeny cave with no lights on. But then we get a shot where, okay, they turn lights on in there, and there is a secret passage almost in the back of this teeny cave, and they go up the stairs, and then it's a slightly bigger cave with two like bare bones beds and like a little desk and a bucket for washing up in, and there's a bathroom we never see. And yeah, they get locked in there, and they are there for like 18 hours or something. They do bring them food, but it's literally milk, bread, and like a tangerine. Like it's they treat them like it's prison a little bit.
The meal wasn't so bad. At least I didn't think.
Well,
I mean, compared
like,
to what the other
okay, so
people
they
get.
showed them getting that, and then like down in the living area, they're literally eating lobster. Like
Yeah,
it's
they get like
ridiculous.
they get like a buffet in the living area. Yeah, I don't know if we said this before. They have to stay in the jail cell until like up until the
right
very
before
moment,
the main match.
the next day
Yeah.
when the main match starts. So yeah, they're pretty much in there for 18 hours, assuming like the main match games take about 6 hours, I guess. It depends on how
Yep.
long the main match games are taking, but yeah, that's pretty crazy.
And they have nothing with them, and they
Yeah, they can't change
like
their clothes or anything.
they can't change, they can't shower, they don't have their phones, they don't have a book. Now, on subsequent days, people bring books and stuff with them because they're like, I might go to jail. I need to read a book or
Oh,
something.
do they really?
Yeah. And they let them
Contraband?
do that.
Contraband into the
They
prison?
don't even sneak it in. They just let them have it.
I gotta tighten up security at this prison.
But
That's weak.
yeah, they kind of search around at a certain point, and they find a little metal puzzle, and that's what they spend their time trying to
Yeah.
figure out.
If you compete, they call it like a cast puzzle. It's like these metal pieces that are like intertwined together, and then if you can make them come apart, you beat the puzzle.
And whoever like beats it first is supposed to win or get a piece. Or
They
I
win, like,
forget
an
exactly
extra
what
piece,
it says. Yeah,
Which is pretty big when a bunch of people only have one piece. So
yeah, absolutely.
but only one of them can beat it, and there's two in the cell. So they're like,
Taking turns trying to
yeah,
solve it. and-
Kyungram eventually solves it, but it feels like Yumin just kind of like let her do it.
Yeah.
Like I don't know how long Yumin actually tried.
And I think she doesn't solve it until like the next morning. Even.
Oh,
like,
really? Okay.
It's like kind of almost last minute. It seems.
Yeah, Kyungram's experience on the show is actually like the roughest so far. She was like the first to get killed, which is, I mean, partly her own
Yeah.
fault, but whatever. So she was just waiting in the death box,
For
the
hours.
death room for hours.
Yeah.
And then she immediately had to go to prison afterwards.
Where she just waits for 18 hours.
Yeah, so they get sent to jail, and then the other players return to the living area. Dongjae gets Siwon and Guillaume to give him a piece.
Yes.
Now, if I was Guillaume here, I feel like I'd probably just give him a piece.
Yeah.
I don't know, actually. It's a tough call because, like, you didn't have a formal agreement, but, like, he did.
He did find out what the situation was pretty early on in the game because Dongjae went to him and went, "Hey, I'm in an alliance with Siwon, so
Yeah.
I know who you are."
I think I would give it to him because, like, literally I would have lost if it wasn't for him.
Yeah,
Now,
absolutely.
if he just, like, said, like, hey, we're on the same team, and then, like, I still did the bulk of the work, and I never actually, like, it was never really my idea to team up with him, you know? I
Yeah,
don't
yeah.
know if it would be the same.
You might still do it just for the social aspect of you're now part of this alliance.
Instead of giving a piece to somebody that, like, thinks I owe them, though, like, I would rather use pieces to, like, give to other people, you know?
I guess it depends on if you are feeling good about an alliance with Siwon, because at this point you have to assume that she and Dongjae come together, and if Dongjae's not on board because you didn't give him a piece, it becomes problematic potentially.
Yeah, I mean, like, I would give it to Dongjae just because, like, literally would have lost the game
Yeah,
if it
yeah,
wasn't for
yeah.
him. But, like, I would not assume if I'm Guillaume, be like, because I'm giving him a piece that, like, I'm part of this, like, 3-person alliance with them now.
Yeah, but if he comes up and asks you for a piece and then you don't give it, you can kind of assume you're definitely not
You're
in this
now,
alliance.
yeah, they might actively work against you. Yeah. Yeah. But I would be, like, trying to find people I like and just be like, hey, I want to work with you. Like, here's a piece. Like,
Yeah.
I don't want you to be in last place anymore because I don't want you to get eliminated, like, kind of thing, and then build trust that way.
It's just really hard because none of this is like it's secret at the time you're trading or whatever, but the next time you go to a match, they will show how many pieces everybody has and people can figure out who gave who what, you know?
Yeah, that's true. But, like, I wouldn't really care that people though that much. Like, I don't know. Like, I'd be worried that, like, by being in the lead, I would be kind of, like, boxed out of the next match.
Yeah.
So, like, I'd be trying, like, as long as I'm not gonna get eliminated, I would want people just to, like, want to work with me, kind of thing.
And I think that makes sense at this stage of the game, knowing what you know about the game at this point. In future games, if you're in last place in the game, they at least one of them they take four pieces from you. So I think
really?
at that
Okay.
point you turn into a piece hoarder potentially, just because.
Yeah. I would just feel good, like,
Yeah.
knowing that so many people only had one. I would feel pretty good if I had two. Like, I wouldn't worry about having, like, 3 or 4 or whatever at this point.
Yeah, at this point. But once they do introduce that mechanism in, then like
Yeah, you
it's
definitely get
a
scared
survival
later.
situation. Yeah.
But hopefully, if you have been working, if you make an alliance that is then successful in the later games, you will have, like, enough coins amongst yourselves that you don't have to worry about that anymore. All right. Anything else that happens in the living area? Yeah. So basically, Dongjae, Siwon, and Guillaume now all have 4 pieces, and everybody else has 1. Now, Dongjae says to Seokjin that he's gonna make it up to him for lying to him.
Oh yeah.
This is, yeah, like, okay, want to make it up to me? Give me a goddamn piece, you asshole. Like, yeah, right, you're gonna make it up to me. You could just give me a piece right now, and like, you literally have currency that could make it up to
Yes.
me.
Absolutely.
And you're not doing it. So this is why I highly question if this guy would have acted so we were a team if he was the one with the most pieces after the game was over. And it does seem like Seokjin wanted to work with Dongjae because, like, I don't know, he doesn't seem like that upset about it.
Yeah, I think
He's
like
like-
he
he's like,
sees
yeah, I
what
do
he
think
did
we
in
should
the
work
game, and
together.
he's like, yeah, that I see that value that you bring. Yeah.
Honestly, Seokjin should be in the goddamn prison. I'll be honest. He's probably number 1 should be in the prison.
Okay.
I don't know why I didn't say that earlier, but he definitely should. Seokjin and probably, I would still put Yumin in before Kyungrim. I think
Okay.
those are probably my top 2.
Given you had all the information about what happened.
I mean, everybody should. I don't. There's got to be a good amount of people that know that Seokjin just absolutely fucked that up. Like, even the terrorists should kind of know that he fucked it up.
But I feel like he fucked up because so many people were not sharing like he did not get the information he needed to do his role effectively. I mean, he did, yes, make bad decisions at the end, but I think like earlier on, like I think round one would have gone different.
If other people in the game would have been officers and they would have won the game with the same information, but or like the same, I don't know. I think it's pretty bad. All right. And then we already talked about all the prison stuff, right?
Oh, there is this one silly moment where so there are these board games in the living area.
Oh yeah, yeah. This is actually cool.
And so I think it's Siwon and Yeonwoo take one to their game and start to play or whatever. And they're like, I don't know if these are just games that are there or, they're there to keep your brain sharp or maybe they're clues for future stuff. We don't find that out. But so while they take this game, then like Junbin and Orbit from their room can kind of see this stuff. And so Junbin's like, should we go play a game too? And Orbit's like, nah, let's just stay here and talk about science.
Yeah. Junbin's like playing a video game on some sort of like
I think he's got a Switch.
Is that what it is or something? Yeah.
Yeah.
They're not allowed to have their phones, but I guess they can have like things that don't connect to the internet or
Yeah.
like that would give them outside information. That was funny. I mean, you've already watched ahead. Like I assumed that these board games were going to be like at least like an element of a main match game or maybe a prize game later on. And
So
like,
far, that has not been true,
okay.
but who knows?
You know what? Maybe it's for the like the final.
Oh, yeah.
Like these board games might relate to the final game.
Yeah.
That'd be cool. They gotta tie in some way because like literally the board games just say like Devil's Plan board game or something.
Yeah,
on
like
them,
they
right?
like if they're like existing games, they have rebranded them.
They
But
like
that might just
rebox
be
them or something. But,
yeah, they reboxed them, but that might just be to not have to deal with copyright
could
stuff or
be.
something. I don't know.
It could be. I don't know. I would assume that I would be playing the games for sure.
Oh yeah, yeah.
All right, then it's time for the prize match. The prize match, I don't think we need to talk about it as much. I do think these prize matches are much more interesting to watch than the death matches from the Genius.
Yes.
But in terms of talking about like the strategy of them, at least for this first episode, it's not as like
there's not a lot of
consequential.
strategy. It is just
It's not as
accomplished
consequential. It's
tasks.
like they're working together to do the objective, and maybe there's some strategy to the objective, but ultimately, like everybody's at least working to finish the objective. Now, the wrinkle
is Orbit.
Oh, not I was good. Well, there's a wrinkle in terms of there's the ability to earn pieces as individuals in the prize matches. So
Yeah.
you can kind of get greedy and try. Well, this first game, it's not even really greedy. It's kind of like if you just perform better,
Yeah.
then you get pieces. Like if you perform better than other people. But then we can get into it. Do you want to describe this game?
Yeah, okay. So they come into the main game arena place and there is a merry-go-round, like a real simple merry-go-round in front of them that has numbers on each of the spaces. And then there is a platform next to the merry-go-round. So they will each accompany one of these spaces. It is going to slowly rotate and they're going to have a little puzzle placed in front of them and opened on this platform. And it's one of those like you have a sheet of paper with a geometric shape on it and a bunch of little geometric like pieces that go together to make this bigger shape. And so they only have as long as they are in front of it while this wheel is rotating to work on it. But I think they have 3 minutes per puzzle and they need to solve 10 puzzles in order to secure the prize for this game. And if you happen to be the person who is in front of the puzzle when it is finished, you will get a piece. Sorry, you will not get a piece. You will get credit for finishing the puzzle.
Yeah.
If you finish a subsequent puzzle, you will then get a piece.
Yeah, if you finish 2 puzzles, you get 2, and then or if you get 2 puzzles, you get 1, and then if you every one you complete after 2, you get an additional piece.
Yeah, so you get however many puzzles you have finished minus 1 pieces, basically.
Yeah, the caveat being that like specifically like whoever the puzzle is in front of,
not whoever put the last piece in.
Yeah, it's like not who put the last piece in, but like whoever the puzzle is in front of when the puzzle gets solved. So if somebody has long enough arms, they can like still be working on the puzzle even though the puzzle's like not in front of them.
Yeah, which is what happens at least twice. Like Cool Lawyer is finishing the puzzle, but then Junbin is in front of the puzzle as it is finished and therefore gets points twice at least.
And Junbin is like the worst at this.
Yeah, the first one he doesn't even touch, and then other ones he is not good at.
Yeah. So Junman ends up getting a piece for solving 2 puzzles, even though he literally does nothing.
But he does give it to her after the fact, so that's nice.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the whole wrinkle in this thing is that Orbit has decided that they should try to strategize to maximize the number of pieces that get awarded to them. So he's like, once the first puzzle is solved in front of someone, he's like, okay, we should just wait, even if you think you solve it, until it's in front of him and he can finish it, and then he'll just get a bunch of pieces and we can redistribute them.
Yeah.
Which not everybody
So
is on board with.
What's the game? Like, okay, let's say they do it perfectly. Let's say they execute Orbit's plan perfectly, right?
Mm-hmm.
It would be one person. It's 10 rounds, right?
One person would get 9 pieces.
And there's 9. Oh no, there's 10 of them, right?
Yes, there are 10 of them.
10 of them. So it's
in
awkward.
this game right now, and there's 2 more people who are in prison.
No, fuck those 2 people. They're in prison.
Well, at some point, he even is like, well, maybe we should just give it to the people in prison.
Now he's talking crazy.
Yeah.
This dog is an absolute.
And that actually starts to rub people the wrong way. And
Yeah.
I guess his logic is he's trying to get more pieces in the game so that way they can keep people in the game longer, because that's his goal. He wants everybody to still be in the game until the very end of the final day.
Yeah.
But like at this point, all they know is that sometimes they will lose pieces. They do not know how many pieces they will lose or how that all works. And so if production wants to get rid of anybody, they can just adjust those numbers before they play a match and they'll get rid of somebody, it doesn't matter what he does here. If they want to get rid of people, they'll get rid of people.
They're like I was saying before, like if you want to specifically like talk to people and be like, I will work to make sure you don't get eliminated, basically just having an alliance with somebody.
Mm-hmm.
Like that makes perfect sense. And if you want to make those people that are good at the prize matches or whatever to make the prize pool, like there's some logic to it. But this strategy is like he's trying, like if you were to say this to a few people, it would make them feel good about you. But he's saying it to everybody. So if you're saying it to everybody, you're not actually working with anybody, and everybody knows that you're not working with anybody. And like this is like literally in the last episode of Survivor, this happened where like this one guy is basically like by far the best social player in the game when it comes to just like talking to people. But he like openly just like would talk to everybody, and then everybody saw that he was talking to everybody. And like even though they liked him, they were just like, man, he's talking to everybody. Like he's just too good at this. Or like I can't actually be sure that even though I like him and I trust him, I can't actually be sure because it feels like everybody likes him and trusts him. Which means he can't possibly be on everybody's alliance, which means the chances that he's in my alliance almost means nothing, right? So it's like, it's like he's doing something that should make people feel good. Like, okay, he wants to make it so I don't get eliminated. But at the same time, it's like, but you want everybody not be eliminated. Like that also benefits me 0.
Yeah.
Like everybody wants people to be eliminated. Like, I mean, the first priority is like get pieces. And then maybe you want to save people that are working with you from getting eliminated. But after that, like, who cares if people get eliminated?
Yeah. And it becomes this whole thing where it's like you've got your top couple players who have pieces, and then Orbit with literally everybody else in a loose pseudo alliance where in every game he's trying to math out the right way to make sure none of those people fail and leave the game. But that means that the people who are not inside this mega alliance of people who are at the bottom of the tier then get pushed out and get sent home anyway. So like the logic doesn't even track, and it becomes kind of a whole mess for a couple episodes. But at the episode I'm at, I think he figures out that this is not the way to go, and hopefully things are about to change. I don't know.
Okay. Yeah, honestly, like the show literally starts out, and one of the opening things is like, we just asked that everybody plays to win. Like this is not playing to win.
Yeah.
So,
and I also hate how he does this like kind of I'm gonna control the game thing a lot, where he's like, oh, you just do what I tell you to, and then we'll win. So like he kind of tried to do it in the first match here with his whole like social distancing plan or whatever, but like and then in here he's just like, okay, everybody, we're gonna do this thing, and it's like, you're not the guy in charge, like just stop it.
At least in this first game, like I actually don't like I think it's not like a move that I would do, but ultimately because everything he did was actually helpful. Like, I don't think I would be like annoyed with him after this first game, because like, at least he's doing it, but he's doing it when he's making sense. But there are definitely some people that just like they think like the first thing that pops in their head, and then they just decide that that's the reality, and then they like think that they have this amazing plan, and they just overly confident tell everybody to do it.
Yeah.
Sometimes they just have the charisma to make people do whatever they say, but it is like not good strategy, you know?
Yeah.
But he at least like has the logic to back up what he's doing. So I don't mind it so far, but maybe later he totally is overconfident with something he says. But all right, yeah. So how does this play out with this cooperative puzzle?
They fail out on puzzle 8.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
they do fail. And it's not because they were trying to do orbit strategy. It was just like it was too hard.
Yeah.
I also like was pretty much like, you're not the one physically touching the puzzle when you're watching as the audience, but you're at least able to see like, okay, I think I see how it goes together. I think for
Yeah.
most of the puzzles up till 8, I was like, okay, I think I see it. And then we got to
Yeah.
8, and like I also did not see it. So, and they took a little while to get it right after.
Yeah, because they all wanted to see what they had,
Yeah.
what they should have done.
So I actually just think it was hard.
Yeah.
But in terms of the pieces, though, like 2 different people get the first 2 right, and then I think Orbit kind of talks about his idea, and then immediately, or maybe it's after the first one, I don't know, but immediately like Dong Jae is like the first person to not do the plan. He just like he's trying to get those pieces, you know.
And then Orbit's like, okay, well then we'll let Dong Jae get it, and it's just
Dong Jae like continuously like does like villain like things, and then like the like the guys in the house just sort of like, I still trust you though. But I think he literally said that because he was like, well, Dong Jae's definitely going to keep winning on purpose, so we might as well just have him be the person.
Yeah, but it's like,
but
Dong Jae has not agreed to share out these pieces.
Yeah, why would he? Why do you think he's going to shell out the pieces? Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. Yeah, so Dong Jae gets what, like 2 or 3 pieces ultimately.
Yeah, Junbin gets a piece.
2. And Junbin gets one, but then gives it to Dongju because she actually was the one that solved it. Yeah, and that's about it, right?
Yeah.
More interesting to watch than deathmatch, but maybe not the best.
And so far, their final prize money is 0-1. They get no money.
0-1, yeah. If they keep failing, eventually they're gonna have to be like, if you win this one, you get like 100,000, but if you lose, you still get 50, like 100 million, or if you lose, you still get 50.
Or they're just gonna have to make something like so doable, you know? Like,
I guess they could do that. I don't know how far advanced I guess they could always just make it like if they did this one in a later one, they would just make it like, oh, you only have to do like 5 puzzles, and then they only don't do the hard ones at the end or something. But yeah, then they fail the prize match, and then there's more talking, right? And then they eventually go to sleep. Anything from before, and that's the kind of, once they go to sleep, that's like the end of the episode, right?
Yeah.
So it seems like every episode there's 12 episodes total, so it seems like each episode is like either a main match episode or a prize match episode, but we haven't watched farther enough to see how the ending works. So I don't know if maybe the last 2 episodes are the whole finale, like final 2.
Yeah, not sure.
But yeah, this is my genre of show there. This is
it's a good one.
My wife also, we like watching shows like this together, like Survivor and stuff. So the only reason I haven't watched further in the show is because I'm waiting to have time with my wife to watch this together. So otherwise I would have blown through the show by myself.
For me, it's the cliffhangers at the end that make me go to the next one. Like end of this one, they do a 12 hours later preview of like, some people are looking really unhappy and other people are super pleased with themselves.
Oh, that got
and then
you?
I'm like, yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Well, that, and I was just enjoying the show, and I'm like, okay, let's keep going.
I'm always just like, I want to know what the next main match is. Like, the main matches are always so interesting.
Yeah.
And hopefully the prize matches are not like the same ever, like the death matches were. I assume they've been
different so far. Yeah.
Okay, great. That's awesome. Yeah. So this show is just straight up, just
better than the Genius.
Taking a show that was already good and making it better. You can't ask for anything more. That's so good. All right. Anything else you want to talk about?
I think we hit it all with this one.
There is like the stuff that they show that we're not talking about is like there are social dynamics between the players, but that maybe we could get into deeper if we were going to talk about more episodes of the show, but as of now, we're only
Yeah.
talking about these 2 episodes, so it's not as meaningful to talk about it. But yeah, man, I don't know. Maybe one day, if people really like this, I'd come back around to this someday, right?
Yeah.
If people want to
Yeah,
hear
yeah.
more, I love talking about stuff like this. Wait, we talked about this longer than I thought we were, and probably longer than you thought we were too.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, next time,
Next time.
what do you want to do, Sarah? Next time,
I think we talked about doing 1 or 2 episodes of Love Catcher Bali, right?
yes,
That's been recommended to us.
If we're gonna go back and forth between a non-Korean dating show and a Korean dating show, I think Love Catcher Bali is the next one to do. I think we've had the most recommendations to do that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, Love Catcher Bali. We'll do that next. I don't. At one point, I knew what the twist on Love Catcher Bali was, but
Oh, yeah, I don't remember right now.
let me look it up real fast. Oh, it's from 2022.
Okay.
Love Catcher Bali is the season 4 of Love Catcher. Takes place in Bali.
Seems reasonable.
Oh, this is the show. Okay, this is the show that has like people that are there to find love, but then there's also people that are there to like win money by.
Ah,
So
this will appeal to my cynicism.
they're like love catchers and money catchers.
Okay, okay.
They play a psychological love game to find true love amidst endless doubts. At its value, at its face, reading this, I think this show sounds dumb. I'll be honest. Like, it's not really like, again, it's if you're in it, it depends on what you're in for these shows for. Like, is it messy? It's going to be messy, of course.
It sounds
This sounds like
messy.
a totally messy show. So this is what if you're in for that. But if you're in for these shows because like, oh, you want people to like connect and you want to see them be cute together, and then like, and you want it to work out, probably not a good format for that kind of stuff.
What if a money catcher just really connects with somebody and wants to turn into a love catcher? Is that allowed? I guess we'll find out. Probably not.
I assume it would be, right? Like, you would just win money and then you'd have to.
Oh, I guess it's true.
You convince
you
the person
just win
afterwards. I mean, we don't know the
like,
format,
yeah.
but like you win the money and then you have to convince the person afterwards. Like, no, I actually do like you. Like, which I
It
guess
is
at that
like-
point, why would you? Why once the show's over and they say that, why wouldn't you believe them?
That's true. Because then you get them and maybe the money they won. I mean, everybody wins there. Yeah.
Yeah. We don't know the format though, so on its face,
It's
so that's what it
wild
seems like.
speculation at this point.
Yeah. Yeah. So we'll see what Love Catcher Bali is all about. What do people want to tell? Why do people want us to watch this? Okay. I assume since they're telling us to watch Love Catcher Bali, which is season 4 of the show, there must be something
Something
about
special.
this cast or something that they like.
Yeah.
We're only gonna watch the first 2 episodes, so we'll see if anything big happens in the first 2 episodes, but hopefully that'll be enough to get a gist of the show at least.
Yeah. Get a vibe. Figure out the rules.
All right. Well, that's the plan. And then 2 weeks from now, hey, we'll see.
Yep.
we'll let you know at the end of Love Catcher Bali what we're doing next time. All right. Where can people contact us, Sarah?
People can email us at keepwatchingpod@gmail.com or tweet at us at keepwatchingpod or Instagram at us at keepwatchingpod or leave a comment under this video on YouTube also at keepwatchingpod. And if you want to form an alliance with us, you could leave us a rating and review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. You know what I found out?
Yeah.
If I
Okay.
go and I look at our reviews on Apple, it's only showing me the US reviews. So then there's a drop down and it's every freaking country, and I have to click through to see if there are reviews in other countries.
Okay.
So if you leave us a review in another country, can you like also email us or tweet at us or leave us a comment and tell me what country you left a review from so I can see it, because there's so many I cannot click through them all.
Wait, did you check all the other countries? Oh, you didn't. Did
No,
you check,
because
like,
there's too many.
did you check,
I
like,
checked
Korea
some.
and I mean,
We
can
don't have
kinda
any
tell-
reviews from Korea. We have somebody in Canada gave us a star rating but didn't write a review.
Oh, okay.
And that's all I've found so far. There are too many countries, and Apple is silly.
Okay, interesting. I want to know how bad my voice sounds. So
I don't think it's that bad.
leave me know
But
if it was
yeah, let
bad.
us
Like
know.
if I sound like this again, should I bother doing the podcast?
We'll run you through a filter, make you sound like a robot instead, or something. That'll
That'll be better.
not be a horrible experience.
That would be better than my voice. Is that how bad it is?
I don't think so. I mean, but I guess the listeners are the only people who can really tell us that at this point.
All right. Well, that was fun. I love talking.
Yeah, that was a good
I knew we were gonna go long on this because I just talk about this shit too much. Like just talking about what you would do without even talking about what would you do if you were like 60 minutes is not enough time to talk about what we could do, you know?
Yeah.
And especially if you had to talk with like you and I could have a conversation for 60 minutes about how we should strategize. But then there's like 10 other people in the house that you also might want to have a conversation with. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I feel like there's so many things. And then we could bring a third person in. I don't know. There's so many
and then there's
things
the
you
weird
could do.
dynamic, which I forgot to bring up, that like some of these people are celebrities and some of them are not. And that has to be an awkward situation to try and like strategize through these things or not be like intimidated by really hot famous people while you're just a orthopedist from the US, you know? Like it's a weird situation to get put into.
Maybe. I mean, I don't think it would affect me. Like I don't know the celebrities on this show, but even if I'm thinking about like, okay, if I were to play this show and like The Rock was on the show with me.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'd really be intimidated.
Really?
Because it's not a physical competition, you know? It's like...
But it's The Rock. He's so cool.
Like, I would feel a certain way about, like... I'd feel like, oh, this is so cool. I mean, The Rock or whatever. But, like, I don't know. I don't think I would treat him like a different player in the game, you know?
Okay. I think you might not be in the majority on that case.
Okay.
Whether or not people or like can admit it, but I just think there's a weird power dynamic at play.
Yeah, I guess I wouldn't be surprised if The Rock was like telling people what to do and then they were doing what he wanted to do.
Yeah.
But like I personally don't think I would take his word any differently than anybody else's.
Yeah.
Like I would be able to just view him as another player.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I'm trying to
there's
think. Like,
potential
is there
for
anybody...
it to be difficult for people. Yeah.
I'm wondering if like there is anybody that
would do that for you, where you would just have a hard time not listening to him or feel weird about it. Or something.
Maybe a cute girl could get me. I don't know.
The Rock, no, but just some cute girl, sure.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't really think I would be totally influenced. I could see somebody being famous, or like I might like them for whatever reason, and then I might like push harder to try to like be in an alliance with them. But I wouldn't like assume that like any plan that they came up with would be like better than a plan that I came up with.
Well, how about this? Like, you have people in the same sort of circles of famous people are probably theoretically going to find it easier to network amongst each other and form alliances than random outsider person who is...
Oh, that's 100% true. Yeah, like it's not an even playing field. Like the famous people know each other and then they're going to work.
Yeah.
They're more likely to work together, especially if they're in like a similar field, like they're both actors. This happened on The Genius, like where there was like a young K-pop idol who worked with like an older idol.
Yeah.
So it definitely happens. And you're definitely at a disadvantage coming in that way. Yeah. But it wouldn't, in terms of like their social status being able to influence how I think about the game, I don't think that would happen. It could influence how I think about them, but I don't think they would be able to like steamroll me into doing something like just like a bad strategy, you know?
Yeah. I think that could be the case for other folks though, you know?
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah, it's still interesting. Like, ultimately, like they just need to have entertaining people. So
yeah,
they could do like the show definitely doesn't need to have famous people on it, but I don't know. It seems to be a popular strategy on Korean shows to have like pseudo famous people at least.
And I mean, well, like on The Genius, how fun was it to have Sangmin running around being Sangmin? Like that was fun.
Yeah.
So like I get it.
It's just like it's kind of like easy casting to do it that way, as long as those people care to win. But it is also silly from the standpoint of like if somebody's like really successful, they're going to be like less motivated to win. So I don't know.
Are they going to be less motivated to win, or are they going to be trying real hard to not?
It depends on how
show everybody they're like kind of a dummy. You know, like I feel like there's a risk on that front. You know, to uphold a reputation of.
I just don't think somebody that is successful and like the money isn't going to change their lives. Like I don't think they're ultimately they're not going to be as motivated unless like winning the show is like some super prestigious thing that they can like carry with them and they feel that way.
Hmm.
But I would think that a lot of people, I don't know if the show is so prestigious at this point. Even if it is
Yeah.
like season 5 of the Genius, if you want to call it that. Like I still don't know if like is it that prestigious that people would want to win even if there wasn't money involved. I don't know.
I don't think it's that prestigious, but there is like some sense of pride and like, yeah, look at me. I won the smart people game. Yeah. You know?
Yeah, yeah. But a lot of this is like the YouTubers are on here. It helps their channel. It's
Yeah.
basically like your skepticism
Of dating shows.
of
Yeah.
dating
Yeah.
shows. It's like, yeah, some of like the idol person doesn't expect to win the show. Like they're just like their employer was like, "Hey, we got a gig on the show. Like somebody on the like somebody should go do
Yeah.
it."
Yeah. Hmm.
So I love Survivor for being like a show where it's all random people that
Yeah. Yeah.
most of them like the money is life changing usually.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So it really and like and you have to already be like a different kind of person to be willing to like go out and starve to win the money. So
Yeah.
like you just get like a more serious group of people.
Yeah, absolutely.
But the game like the main match games in this show are just like so interesting.
Yeah.
It's a whole different, it's almost like a whole different genre compared to like US television. Like there's nothing like this on US
Yeah, I
television
don't.
really.
I have not seen anything like this on
Like
American television.
Survivor over like now that it's like 45 seasons in, like they started to add more and more like different kind of advantages and twists into the show
Hmm.
where like a couple people might have like extra votes and some people might have idols and like whatever, like everybody has might half the people on the show might have like a little something that but it's like not major, and like there are people that complain like, oh, there's too many things, I can't keep track of it all. Like if they watched this show they'd be like, I'm not watching this, I have no idea what's happening. Like
They would have
it's
turned it off when we got to the subsection of the rules about what the
Yeah.
terrorists can do.
when
Yeah.
they were like they can also win the game if they can develop the cure, and they're like, fuck this shit, it's too complicated. There's too many things. So yeah, I love that this is so different than anything we get in the
Yeah.
US.
I agree.
All right, we good?
Yeah. Yeah.
Thanks for listening, everybody. Bye.
Bye.